Chapter 595. The thief, who used a two-handed dagger, quickly used the stealth skill to break through the back of the Minotaur while the warrior was fighting the Minotaur head-on. He used a fatal blow and poison blade in succession. Finally, as an archer, African didn't eat dog food yesterday, shot an arrow skill with an explosive effect and directly exploded the Minotaur's head. When the huge Minotaur's body fell to the ground, it meant that this temporarily formed team had gained a little more merit. At the same time, under Qian Xiu's command, a Minotaur also came down. It took almost the same time as the three people over there. Warsong Gadotsi and a few people who were playing the game couldn't help but discuss in the voice chat room outside the game. This knight's skill is a bit amazing, but isn't it a bit unsociable? Everyone's personality is different. Besides, we don't know each other. Is it possible to get familiar with each other all of a sudden? When we first met, wasn't Sukumizu very difficult to please? Damn, why am I being implicated? Gadotsi, do you think this Qianxiu is a veteran in the testing area or a game actor? I don't see how he stimulates spending. Let's wait and see. I'll talk to him first. While these people were discussing outside the game, Qianxiu was also silently observing the cooperation of Gadotsi and a few people. At the beginning of the game, he had only formed a team twice. The first time was the Novice Village Dungeon instance, and then they parted on bad terms. This was the second time. Compared with Paper Tiger and a few others, Gadotsi and a few others were obviously much better. All kinds of cooperation seemed to be experienced. Qianxiu suspected that there might be a small studio behind this team. Warsong Gadotsi. Qianxiu, there are too many people in this area. We can't get many monsters. Our team is now ranked in the 200s. What do you think? Qianxiu said directly. Kill high-level monsters and break through these beginner groups on the front line. Go around the woods over there. There should be more high-level monsters on the other side of the canyon. Warsong Gadotsi said, Are you sure? There is a tribute weakening in the woods. The strength of forest attribute monsters will increase. It is not easy to get there, and it will take time. Qianxiu, high risk, high return. If you can keep up, I know how to get there. This guy was indeed one of the testers. Battle Song Gadotsi immediately agreed. Alright, let's go. Name: Chun Likun. In the public ward of the hospital, the doctor looked at the landlord of the rented apartment. He looked at a test report and said calmly, Mr. Chun, are you sure you have nothing to do with this patient? The landlord hurriedly said, He's just my tenant. What relationship do we have? Doctor, when will this guy wake up? The doctor frowned and said, His consciousness is very weak. He doesn't even have any reaction. But other than that, his body is still normal. Although he is a little malnourished, it's not to the point of fainting. The landlord actually didn't understand. He just wanted to know the answer. Then, when will she wake up? The doctor said helplessly, To be honest, I don't know either. He might be in a coma forever. There were many cases of people suddenly falling into a coma and never waking up. This is something that even medical science cannot explain for the time being. The landlord quickly said, Doctor, let me say this first. If he lies here all the time, I have no obligation to take care of him. I have already spent a lot of money to send him here and do this and that test. The doctor had to say, Then, Mr. Chen, I suggest you inform this patient's relatives to take over as soon as possible. Where can I find it? The landlord couldn't help but feel embarrassed at this time. This guy originally found a house online. He rarely goes out. I haven't seen any of his friends come here. I only know his name, but there is a copy of his ID card. Well, I'll look for it. With that said, the landlord also had a face full of bad luck. He cursed, Young people nowadays play games until they are unconscious. Is it worth it? I really don't understand. But the doctor would not pay attention to the landlord's muttering. There were more things waiting for him to do in the hospital. After seeing the doctor leave, the landlord frowned. Suddenly, he whispered to the thin man with a face full of stubble on the hospital bed, "Why don't you just die? You are a waste if you are alive. You also implicate others by lying down." Ha ha! Sure enough, he came out. "Qianxiu, you are really good. This is a shortcut." After passing through the dark woods, the entrance to a valley appeared in front of them. The temporary team rushed all the way, and soon rushed into the valley. As for the road, they could also encounter some teams, but they seemed to rush in from other places. But the important thing was that there were obviously fewer people killing monsters. In this way, the efficiency of the team naturally improved greatly. Seeing that the team's ranking was rising rapidly, everyone worked harder to kill monsters. Qianxiu still couldn't cooperate well with Gudatzi and others, or it was difficult for him to integrate into them. But this did not hinder his own progress. He always felt that something was missing. What is missing? This feeling of being alive, this feeling of being full of strength, I haven't had it for a long time. There was a fire spreading around. The body temperature rose due to vigorous activities. The sweat in the armor was like rain. His heart beat violently. The nerves caused by the killing were tense. All these stimulated his nerves crazily this time. He could already fully familiarize himself with his body. So fast. There was a kind of fanaticism surging from the heart, as if venting all the depression in his heart. Qianxiu forgot everything, and even had the impulse to look up to the sky and roar. The sword in his hand drew warm blood. Unconsciously, Qianxiu couldn't hear the shouts of the other members of the team at all. He killed into a group of higher-level monsters. Suddenly, a scream sounded in front of Qianxiu. At this time, the sword in his hand just directly cut off the entire arm of a monster, and another skill had been connected perfectly. The sword emitting a faint golden light swept wildly toward the monster's neck. Qianxiu's eyes suddenly widened at this time. Time seemed to be frozen. Blood burst out in front of him, and a head flew out in front of him. The flying head even stared at Qianxiu with wide eyes. "This is a human? A human head? Is it not a monster?" No, it's a monster." Qianxiu looked at the head rolling on the ground, and a chill invaded his whole body. It was indeed marked as a monster, a cursed demonized soldier. There were such demonized soldiers nearby. Their grayish-white skin was like a person who had just died. There were 8 of them, and they were surrounding Qianxiu at this time. Their eyes were especially large, and when they opened their mouths, they let out involuntary wailing sounds. They were even more frightening than those evil demons and monsters that were depicted, even more malevolent than those demons and monsters. "Don't come over." Qianxiu took a step back subconsciously. He stepped on the head on the ground, and his body trembled suddenly. "This is just a monster, not a human. Not a human. None of the people here are human." Qianxiu clenched the sword in his hand hard, only to find that his palm had begun to tremble violently. "Move! Move!" His legs seemed to have lost their strength again. Qianxiu couldn't even move his feet. Chapter 596. "What are you doing?" Only a roaring voice could be heard. As a warrior, Muscle Kanna swung her big sword at this time, released her skills, and jumped in front of Qianxiu. But what was faster than Muscle Kanna was the spellcasting attack from Green Tsukumizu. The other 3 people in the team also rushed in, and instantly scattered 8 demonized soldiers. Qianxiu looked at the heads rolling on the ground one by one. His body was getting cold, and he was roaring in his heart. He suddenly realized that for them, the ones in front of them were just 3D game monsters, not the living ones he saw. He took a deep breath, once again clenched the sword in his hand, and forced himself to attack a magic warrior. For him, being in this world, it was rare to encounter more similar situations, and even PK between players later. Even if the PK only killed the characters in the game because of the game, it was obviously a living person in front of him. If he couldn't cross this hurdle, How could he continue his career as a knight in the future? How could he become a citizen of Zhongguan City in a mediocre manner? In the end, the knight's sword cut off the head of the last demonized warrior in one swift motion. This wave of attacks was over. Qian Xiu felt his slightly trembling palm, and his mood was a little complicated. Entering the game time was not as good as he imagined. Warsong Gudatsi, phew! That was close. Qian Xiu, what happened to you just now? Qian Xiu, the network is delayed. Green Sukumizu, like I said, you are motionless. You must be disconnected. Qian Xiu hesitated for a moment and said subconsciously, just now, thank you. Africans did not eat dog food yesterday. We are in the same team, so there is no need. Besides, if you die, it will be more troublesome to come back again, and it will be a waste of time. Green Sukumizu, don't waste time, the ranking has been surpassed. With our current progress, try to see if we can rush into the top 20 team ranking. At this time, a white light flew across the sky. At the same time, a huge, evil monster in the sky fell directly to the ground. Everyone raised their heads to look, only to see that it was a pure white unicorn flying in the air. On the unicorn, a female archer could be vaguely seen. Green Sukumizu, F***CK. It was her. 1,000 delicate feathers. The forums exploded with comments about how she got the SSR tier flying unicorn. He didn't expect it to be true. This lunatic, how much did he spend? Other than the turrets on the city walls, there are actually players who can take down flying monsters. I feel like she's looking for something. Is she hovering above? Qian Xiu silently looked at the valiant female archer on the white unicorn. He suddenly lowered his head and said, let's continue to farm monsters. Don't waste time. That's true. Well, Qian Xiu, I'm using taunt to pull monsters. Can you help me? This way, the Deadpool water can use its profound to attack. That way, the efficiency will be higher, Muscle Kanna suddenly said. Alright. Qian Xiu nodded. The female archer riding the unicorn seemed to gain nothing, and soon floated away again. After adjusting his mood, Qian Xiu slowed down his pace for some unknown reason. Finally, he was barely able to cooperate with the other 5 people in the team. The ranking of this team was also steadily improving. Time passed little by little until the end of this attack and defense battle. Next, it was a triumphant return to receive the reward. This time, the team's ranking was not bad. After a final push, they successfully stabilized the 17th place in the regional overall ranking. Although it was not comparable to the first tier of the top 10, it was a considerable gain for Qian Xiu, who had no way to spend money at all. In addition, his personal ranking was 37th. This was also a satisfactory result for him, who did not strengthen his equipment before the beginning. He squeezed out from the NPCs who received the reward. There were too many people who came to receive the reward. Warsong Gudatsi sent you a friend request. T's **** quickly sent you. Qian Xiu was taken aback. He received 5 friend requests at once. He glanced at these people silently and clicked accept one by one. I don't know how long the avatars of these 5 people will last in my list. Probably, it wouldn't take too long. Green Sukumizu, I'm exhausted. But the harvest is okay. Gudatsi, can we celebrate a little? Have a drink or two. Warsong Gudatsi, okay, we really should celebrate. Haha. Qian Xiu, remember to shout for any good missions in the future. The communication in the game had always been very simple and direct. Qian Xiu just simply said, okay. He silently watched the characters of Warsong Gudatsi turn into a white light and disappear in front of him. Their so-called celebration was probably in the outside world. Qian Xiu silently looked at the emptiness in front of him, and subconsciously glanced around. There seemed to be a lot of people who logged in and left directly. Some characters stood motionless in place, probably hanging here. The original Lively Award reception area suddenly became deserted. Qian Xiu looked up at the sky of Zhongguan City. The setting sun of the city after the battle was like blood. The damaged city walls were slowly recovering. Everything was visible to the naked eye, magical and magnificent. But he had an illusion that the sky here seemed to be dim, and the streets were dim. Here, it seemed to be no different from his simple rental house. Qian Xiu also felt hungry at the same time, and it was the kind of discomfort that turned his intestines. He looked at the setting sun in the distance and muttered to himself, "When was the last time I went out for a meal?" In the spacious bedroom, the woman who gradually wore a large coat to cover her body sighed slightly at this time. She glanced at the clock next to the table, then stood up and turned off the screen on the computer, ignoring a bunch of flashing friend request prompts on the game interface on the screen. The long sweater only covered the short part of the woman's thighs. She was used to not being too restrained in the room. She slightly opened the curtain of the floor-to-ceiling glass window, and a touch of orange light shot into the room. The reflection on the glass was a young and beautiful appearance. The ringtone of the cell phone suddenly sounded. The woman frowned, glanced at the name on the contact list, and finally chose to answer. It was a low, male voice. "Xiao Rou, I won't come back for dinner tonight." The woman named Xiao Rou said unhappily, "Are you going to that woman's house again?" "Don't worry about my business. Just stay at home." Xiao Rou sneered. "House? What house? I don't see you in the morning, and I don't see you at night. Tell me, what house?" "I may not come back tonight. That's it. I have an appointment with someone for dinner. I'm in a hurry." The man quickly hung up the phone. Xiao Rou threw the cell phone out forcefully and smashed it in front of the glass mirror on the dressing table. While smashing the glass, her appearance also became fragmented in the mirror. Chapter 597. Yu Yi. Get me a glass of water. I'm thirsty. Yes, Sir Taiyinzi. Bah! What the hell is this? It tastes so bad. Open my 1993 bottle of Mao Tai. Yes, Sir Taiyinzi. Well, this is not bad. Massage my shoulders. I'm exhausted from tinkering with God King these 2 days. Yes, Sir Taiyinzi. Are you dissatisfied? Master said that he wanted you to help this old Taoist. I'm now the overall person in charge of this plan. If you don't do a good job, be careful, I'll report to Master. He'll say you're incompetent. Sir Taiyinzi, please don't. Yu Yi will massage your shoulders right now. The above, don't get me wrong, of course it didn't happen. It only existed in the mind of the club's super newcomer. In fact, at the same time, Taiyinzi was holding a tray with a cup full of black liquid. He put the cup in front of a metal lump. It was called Adam, the work of the club's servant girl. It was an intelligent programming machine with complex algorithms. "Mr. Adam, your crude oil," Taiyinzi said quickly. Adam's head turned 180 degrees and opened up the plate behind it. 2 retractable mechanical arms picked up the cup and poured the so-called crude oil into its mouth. It then turned back to continue with its work. "Well, Miss Yu Yi, is there anything I can help you with?" Taiyinzi came to Miss Maid again, as if he was floating in the air. Miss Maid, who was typing something quickly on the keyboard, smiled and said, "No, I haven't. Taiyinzi, if you're free, you can go and sweep the door. Or see if any new customers have received the mail." "I'd better check the mail." Taiyinzi sat back in his seat miserably. This was a room on the 2nd floor of the club, but it had been transformed into a workshop with a large number of mainframes in a very short time. Just like a social animal who had just stepped into the society and had the lowest position in the enterprise, Taiyinzi, who was an employee, had his own place to work, a 60-centimeter-long computer desk in the corner of the room. Glancing at Yu Yi, whose fingers were flying, Taiyinzi held his chin and stared at the motionless screen. Then he took out a water sprayer from the drawer and sprayed a cactus on the 2nd floor of the computer desk and yawned. "Where's the promised promotion and salary increase? How's your work?" At this time, Boss Luo opened the door and came in. Miss Maid had stood up directly. She was so fast that Tai Inzi, who was only half standing up, was shocked. Master, look. Yu Yi said softly. Luochio came to Yu Ye's side and pulled her to sit down. Yu Yi said at this time, the server of Jade Fantasy has been transformed to 80%. After I added a new algorithm, the guests can have a better texture inside. Texture? Luochio nodded. Auditory, visual, and so on? I'm not very good at this. Miss Servant Maid nodded and said, well, it's the feeling of implanting human facial features. After all, there's no such algorithm in the game. In addition, the intelligence of the NPCs in the game is enhanced, making them look more like a real entity. Boss Luo thought for a while and said, won't the game company discover this? The real mainframe is here. After all, if the performance of the mainframe of the game company is considered, I'm afraid it will directly crash. Yu Yi said softly, as long as it's coated with a layer of false data, the game company's own detection won't discover it. Everything will be as usual. Their original server is just a transit station, a springboard. So it has no impact on the game company. The boss smiled and said, well, if it's a problem that can't be solved technically, just tell me. There are always ways to solve it outside of technology. Yu Yi shook her head and said, as long as it's within Yu Ye's ability, how can I let my master suffer? This is the greatest denial of my ability. Too serious. Luochio smiled, then you do your work. I'll go inside and play for a while. I received an interesting mission yesterday. Okay. Seeing Yu Yi sit back in her original place, Luochio looked at Taiyinzi, who was standing upright in the corner. Taiyinzi, you seem to be very free? Taiyinzi's body suddenly stiffened, and he looked at the computer screen in an instant. He rubbed his chin and said, Aya, it's so strange, master. I seem to have seen a flash just now. Why did it suddenly disappear? Where did the problem go? It's so strange, so strange. Okay. Boss Luo chuckled. You accompany me in. The mission requires 2 characters to do. Is this the master's personal appointment? Tainzi. Tainzi, join us? The taste of food seemed to be getting better and better. Qian Xiu was enjoying the delicious food in the hotel restaurant where he stayed. This kind of taste cooked with strange meat made Qian Xiu feel an unprecedented sense of explosion in his taste buds. Just the money earned from a simple small mission allowed Qian Xiu to live a very good life. This seemed to be countless times better than when he was still in the rented house. A week. It had been a week since he came to this world. He felt as if he had been reborn. But since he teamed up with Gudatsi and experienced the attack and defense battle a week ago, Qian Xiu had not taken the initiative to contact them during this time. Of course, Gudatsi would occasionally send a greeting message. Qian Xiu was still not used to taking the initiative to communicate with others. In other words, he had forgotten this kind of communication for a long time. But this did not make him care too much. Only a week had passed, and he was still adapting to today's life. In fact, there were still countless things waiting for him to explore in this world. Those feelings of anxiety that occasionally appeared were quickly diluted by novelty. After eating breakfast, Qian Xiu left the hotel. He was probably the only one who would spend a whole night in the hotel like him. After leaving the hotel, Qian Xiu planned to go to the teleportation array in Zhongguan City. Since yesterday, he had considered forging a more powerful weapon for himself, and one of the materials could only be obtained somewhere in the novice village. Why would people persevere in repeating the boring actions in the game? Probably because humans were born with an indescribable pursuit of the improvement of the numerical value. Looking at things showing an increasing trend little by little, one's mood would always be better. Strengthening the victory fighting seemed to be instinctive. Are there still 2 teeth left? Qian Xiu wiped the sweat on his forehead. He stopped killing the monsters in the forest in a dense forest near the novice village and planned to take a break. This kind of real battle and sitting in front of the computer was very physically and mentally exhausting. Even after a week, Qian Xiu still could not fully adapt to such high-intensity exercise. Help, help, vaguely, there was a cry for help. Qian Xiu frowned. How can there be a cry for help in such a place? Logically speaking, with the current game progress, the monsters in this place would not make players cry for help. Besides, players would not call for help. Could it be a malicious PK? Strictly speaking, this dense forest was no longer a safe area of the novice village. But the malicious PK between novices did not seem to happen at present, right? Could it be that there are still missing side missions? Qian Xiu quickly thought of the situation where he might have triggered some special event. If this was the case, the reward would generally not be too bad. It was worth taking a look. He followed the cry for help all the way, and the sound became clearer. It was the sound of a woman's painful whine. Turning over the branches of the dense forest, under a big tree, at the place where the roots were entangled, a woman in a hemp skirt was tied to the trunk at this time. The woman's clothes had been torn, and behind her, a man who took off his pants was twitching wildly. The woman's painful cry and the man's happy and ferocious laughter were intertwined. On the ground there were some weapons and armor. There was also a basket which probably belonged to this woman. This woman is a villager in the novice village, and this man is actually a player? This game allows this kind of thing to happen? But Qian Xiu had no time to think about this problem at this time. Looking at this sinful scene, he suddenly held the sword in his hand in advance. A skill flew out and hit the old tree root, making a loud noise. The male player who was doing evil was shocked. He quickly gave up the woman he was violating, jumped out, and waved his hand toward the equipment and weapons on the ground. The equipment and weapons appeared directly on his body. Who are you? How dare you ruin my good deed? The man was a warrior. He was only level 14, but his eyes were extremely terrifying. When he saw Qian Xiu in front of him clearly, his face changed slightly. Qian Xiu's level was higher, and he was a knight who had been subdivided into professions. Bastard! Qian Xiu held the long sword and walked toward the warrior with a murderous face. Wait a minute. Let's talk nicely. The man knew that he was no match for Qian Xiu. He retreated in horror and said, Brother, wait a minute. This is just an NPC. I'll feel good. You don't be impulsive. But at this moment, the woman let out a sorrowful cry. She actually hit her head on the tree trunk, smashing her skull. She committed suicide. Scum! Qian Xiu was furious. The long sword burst into a flash. He swung the sword at the male warrior without saying a word. This kind of power directly tore the opponent's armor and cut a huge wound on the opponent's body. This blow almost took away almost 1/3 of the male warrior's life. The male warrior fell to the ground in pain and drank the potion frantically. He knew that he was no match for Qian Xiu. At this time, he covered his wound and fled frantically without saying a word. The reason why he chose this place was naturally because it was very close to the reserve. If anything happened, he could be safe as soon as possible. But he obviously did not know the gap between the subdivided professions and the novice village's ultimate dungeon. A huge impact force appeared directly behind him. Under such an impact, the male warrior only felt that his bones were about to shatter. He fell to the ground in pain, but Qian Xiu's sword had pierced directly into his back, nailing him to the ground. This stab pierced directly into his heart. Fatal! The male warrior cried painfully at this time. His expression was distorted. He grabbed the soil on the ground and wailed, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I have died once. I don't want to die yet. In the end, he did not make a sound. His eyes widened and he finally remained motionless. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I have died once. I don't want to die yet. Qian Xiu pulled out his sword in horror. The last words of the male warrior kept echoing in his mind. The male warrior did not disappear and return to the spawn point after death like the player character. Instead, his body gradually began to melt. Eventually, it turned into a gray and dim ball of light, and finally disappeared in front of Qian Xiu. Suddenly, an unprecedented fear caused his body to subconsciously turn cold. This guy, is he also? The sword in Qian Xiu's hand was unstable and fell directly to the ground. He even subconsciously took 2 steps back and trembled. He is dead, soul, that is to say. I really killed. He collapsed to the ground all of a sudden. He really killed a person. In a certain city, in a certain hospital. Chapter 598. Boss Luo was holding a golden fishing rod in both hands. On the edge of the quiet lake, he was doing a mission in the game. This magical world is really good. This was not the first time Boss Luo sighed. With Yu Ye's continuous optimization of the game's time algorithm, it had now surpassed the concept of lifelike. On the calm lake, except for the occasional ripples caused by the swaying of the swim bladder, a circle of clearer ripples suddenly emerged. A small white light ball slowly shot out from the lake and came to Luoqiu. Feeling the despair from this gray light ball, Luoqiu smiled slightly. Thank you for coming. The boss put the light ball into his palm, which meant that a deal was officially completed. At the same time, it also meant that Taiyinzi's plan officially had its first income. Not long after, another ripple suddenly appeared on the calm lake, and it was more intense. This time, Taiyinzi came out. After Taiyinzi came out, he swam towards the edge of the lake in horror. Master? Help! With that, a huge water column rushed out from the lake, and a huge shadow shot out of the water. It was a special creature that only existed in the game, the Golden Carp King. Taiyinzi, I just asked you to send the bait to it. I didn't ask you to lure it up. I don't know. It chased after me as soon as it saw me. Help, help. Seeing Taiyinzi swimming over in horror, the waves that were hit by the golden carp began to hit the edge of the lake, causing waves and splashes. Boss Luo made a prompt decision to leave the fishing position and step back. Taiyinzi was surprised. Master? Luoqiu shook his head slightly. I can't beat it now. After playing Jade Fantasy for a week, the club boss character level was now level 3. There was probably no one else who could reach this level after playing for a week. As a result, the club's super newcomer was stunned. He only felt darkness in front of him, and then the feeling of his body being crushed spread all over his body. Then, a white light flashed, and Taiyinzi appeared in the novice village's resurrection point. Warrior, you died again? Do you want to buy a bottle of potion before you fight? An old woman selling potions at the spawn point crouched down and brought a bottle of red potion to Taiyinzi. Why use again? Because this was the 3rd time. Taiyinzi stretched out his hand in humiliation. Give me a bottle. The owner by the lake looked at the surface of the water that was gradually calming down. He rubbed his chin and said to himself, it seems that the method is still wrong. Let's think of something else. After saying that, the shop owner exited the game and returned to his shop. In any case, Qian Xiu must be punished for killing. After all, from the perspective of the game, Qian Xiu took the initiative to attack, which was the first malicious PK. Therefore, before the sin value disappeared, he had to stay in the wild. He could not enter any settlement for the time being. However, he could wash away some of the sin value with the pure water given at the beginning of the game. But he did not do that. Instead, he wandered outside the dense forest. The male warrior's painful expression before his death seemed to become clearer as time passed. He was not the only one who was special. In addition to him, there were other people in Jade Fantasy who were like him. Their souls were also invested here. Judging from the behavior of the male warrior just now, it was not difficult for Qian Xiu to find out. That was, in this different world, that guy probably got rid of the shackles of morality all of a sudden and became unscrupulous. This seemed to be the most common mentality. As someone who made a living as a gamer, It was normal for them to meet people who were oppressed by society and were venting their anger in the game. Perhaps the hidden evil essence of this male warrior could also attract the guy called God Lord? Qian Xiu assumed that only people with strong desires could meet the God Lord. Then, what kind of starting point did he make to enter this world in the beginning? Because his body was incomplete, he hoped to be healthy? Because of the fickleness of human nature, he was fed up with the cannibalistic society, but he was unable to change it? Or was it because of something else? Escape. After entering the Jade fantasy, too many fresh and unprecedented stimuli had been impacting his mind, so much so that he almost forgot one thing. He would also be like that male warrior. After a certain number of times, he would also achieve true death. It was like falling into a quagmire. A sense of weightlessness made Qian Xiu feel difficult to move. He saw 3 players suddenly appear in front of him. They were chasing after a small low-level monster. This was a very common thing, but at this moment, Qian Xiu instinctively refused to let players get close to him. He even had an illusion. Were the 3 players chasing the monster a disguise, and were actually here to kill him? Finally, the expressions of these 3 players gradually became ferocious in Qian Xiu's eyes, like devils. He lowered his head and said nothing. He used the item to wash away his sin value as quickly as possible. He also used the expensive return item and disappeared directly from this place. Wow, he still used the return item when he was so close. He must be some big boss, right? I just took a look. His level is so high. That equipment, is it light of forging 7 success? Under the flickering white light, Qian Xiu returned directly to the teleportation point of Zhongguan City. As soon as he landed, he left quickly without saying a word. He didn't want to have any contact with anyone here, even if it was an NPC in the game. He just wanted to return to the hotel room. He subconsciously felt that the narrow room could bring him a sense of security. Qian Xiu. Qian Xiu. On the street, someone suddenly called out to him. Qian Xiu stopped. The people who called him were War Song Gadatsi and T's ***** quickly. After War Song Gadatsi greeted him, he smiled and said, I haven't seen you since the last attack and defense battle. You are really elusive. Qian Xiu was silent for a moment before saying, What's the matter? War Song Gadatsi said, In fact, it's nothing special. I just want to say hello and talk about the recent situation. How have you been recently? Qian Xiu said, Not bad. If there is nothing else, I will go first. With that said, Qian Xiu turned into another alley and left without waiting for the response of War Song Gadatsi and the others. Seeing that Qian Xiu had completely left his sight, War Song Gadatsi frowned. T's **** quickly said unhappily, What the hell? I originally planned to recruit people to do the escort mission. Looking at his manner of speaking just now, I really don't want to speak. War Song Gadatsi shook his head. Maybe there is an emergency. Let's find someone else. T's **** quickly said suddenly. He deleted me from the friend list. War Song Gadatsi frowned again and said, Me too? T's **** quickly shook his head and said, So be it. We have never chatted anyway. Let's go. After closing the door of the room, Qian Xiu lay on the bed of the hotel room. The curtains next to him were pulled tight, and the room suddenly became dim. Next to him, the interface of the friends list had just been cleared by him. The system loudspeaker, the player, 1,000 delicate feathers, used the server loudspeaker. Qian Xiu suddenly turned off all the body prompts, and then covered his eyes with his arm. He could not see or hear anything. President Lan, there is a person surnamed Chen outside looking for you. In the large office, the man with an extraordinary temperament raised his head and frowned. Surnamed Chen? Does he have an appointment? The secretary said, No, but he said that he has been looking for you for a long time. He said that it is about Lan Xiu. He must see you. Lan Xiu? Chapter 599. In the hospital, at one of the beds in the public ward. The secretary pulled up the curtains around the bed, forming a narrow and enclosed space. Here, in addition to the secretary and the man named President Lon, there was also a middle-aged uncle surnamed Shen, the landlord. There was also a doctor who was called. The doctor said respectfully, "I'm sorry, Mr. Lon Kai. I didn't know that this patient turned out to be your brother. I'll arrange the best ward immediately." President Lon Kai just waved his hand, and the secretary next to him opened the curtain and made an inviting gesture to the doctor. The doctor did not say anything and hurriedly left to make arrangements. Lon Kai was a quite famous entrepreneur. After the previous generation of the Lon Group passed away a few years ago, it was handed over to Lon Kai to inherit. Now the business had grown again. In addition, Lon Kai was also a famous philanthropist. He had donated a lot of equipment to this hospital. Even a sanatorium in the hospital was developed in cooperation with him. If it was not handled well, the doctor's career would probably come to an end. How could he not be careful? Not to mention the doctor's attitude, the landlord's attitude was naturally more restrained. He searched all the way according to the address on Lon Xiu's ID card, but found that the house had long been abandoned. After asking, it was said that it was sold. He asked the neighbors nearby, but they were not very clear about Lon Xiu's family. They only heard that Lon Xiu grew up with his mother, but no one had seen what his father looked like. In desperation, the landlord could only go to the police for help. At first, he did not believe it, but he still had the mentality of giving it a try. He did not expect that this disabled and unable to take care of himself was actually the younger brother of Lon Kai, the current head of the Lon Group. One was a socialite of noble birth, and the other was almost at the bottom of society. The landlord could not help but think of many melodramatic TV drama plot. This Lon Xiu was probably the son of the previous generation of the Lon family, right? At this time, the secretary brought a stool and let Lon Kai sit down. The head of the company was about 30 years old. At this time, he was indifferently looking at Lon Xiu on the hospital bed. Although the thin face looked very dry, it could be seen that there was some similarity between Lon Xiu and Lon Kai's eyebrows. "Tell me about him." Lon Kai suddenly spoke at this time. The landlord was taken aback and quickly said, "Mr. Lon, actually, I'm not too sure. He moved in with me a year ago. As for me, our relationship is just that of a landlord and a tenant. We only see each other when we pay the rent. I really don't know much about him. Not to mention how he ended up like this. Mr. Lon, it really has nothing to do with me." Lon Kai suddenly asked, "No one came to look for him?" The landlord thought for a while and said, "I don't think so. I don't know, but at least I haven't met one." Lon Kai nodded and suddenly glanced at the secretary. The secretary understood and took out a bulging yellow bag from her briefcase. "This is from President Lon. After deducting the medical expenses, you can take the rest." This large sack contained at least a few 100,000. No, this weight was probably at least 200,000. The landlord immediately smiled and reached out to take it. "Thank you, Mr. Lon. Thank you, President Lon. Then, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first." This guy had already found such a rich brother, so why would he still need a landlord who did not have much dry cleaning? "I didn't expect to make a fortune." The landlord, who was both happy and didn't want to continue to be involved in other people's family affairs, naturally planned to leave as soon as possible. "Wait a minute." Lon Kai suddenly shouted at this time. "Lon, President Lon, is there anything else?" The landlord subconsciously held the banknotes tightly. "I'm going to see where he lives." As soon as the door was opened, a pungent stench immediately rushed out. Lon Kai took out a handkerchief and covered his nose. He frowned and walked into this simple single rental room. "President Lon, be careful." The landlord quickly shouted at this time. "There is garbage here, be careful. Don't get it dirty." as the landlord said. He quickly pinched his nose and picked up the garbage here and threw it aside. Lon Kai asked the secretary to wait outside the door, and then he really walked into this small bedroom. President Lon, after the accident here, I haven't touched anything. I haven't touched anything, the landlord said quickly. You go out too. Lon Kai waved his hand. The landlord nodded. To be honest, he didn't have any reason to stay here. It was mainly because of bad luck. Lon Kai took a look at the room. On the messy bed, clothes were placed everywhere like dried vegetables. There were also a lot of clothes on the floor, exuding a damp and stewed smell. A cockroach suddenly crawled under Lon Kai's feet, which made Lon Kai's brows almost wrinkled into a Chuan character. Not to mention the stench coming from the toilet. There were probably adult diapers that had not been cleaned up in time. Lon Xiu's lower body was completely unconscious, and it was common for him to suffer from incontinence. Lon Kai was still expressionless, but when his gaze moved to the only table in this place, his gaze suddenly became fierce. He walked to the table and reached out to pick up the covered photo frame. In the photo, one was Lon Xiu and the other was a woman with a bright smile. Lon Kai's gaze contracted slightly, and he suddenly threw the photo frame on the ground. His shoes stepped on the photo frame and directly crushed the glass of the photo frame. Lon Kai finally picked up the photo again and crumpled it into a ball again. Finally, he picked up the lighter from the table and burned the photo to ashes. Only then did he leave the smelly room. In the car, Lon Kai opened the window and looked at the secretary standing outside the car. He ordered indifferently, "Find someone to clean up the things in the house. Take care of it today. In addition, let the landlord rent out the house as soon as possible." The secretary quickly wrote it down. Lon Kai glanced out the window at the old rental house at this time. His gaze was a little gloomy, and he suddenly said, "Also, this matter must be kept a secret. Don't spread it out, especially in my house." "I understand, President Lon." The secretary nodded heavily. The car slowly left the alley. Lon Kai also closed the window. He closed his eyes and leaned his head. No one knew what he was thinking. Soon after, Lon Kai took out the phone. "Xiao Ro, I won't be back tonight. Don't wait for me to eat. It's up to you. Anyway, it's the same whether you come or not. If you don't come back, I might be happier." Beep beep. The other party hung up first. In the ashtray full of ash and cigarette butts, some embers suddenly began to float and separate little by little. There were also some residues that had not been completely burned. They constantly combined in the air and restored to their original appearance little by little. Finally, they became a photo full of wrinkles. The broken photo frame on the ground was restored to its original appearance in the same way. Finally, they fell into the hands of Boss Luo together. Boss Luo looked at the photo carefully. He didn't seem to intend to erase the traces caused by the rubbing of the photo, although this kind of thing was probably as simple as drinking water for Boss Luo. Luochio just put it into the photo frame again. In the photo, he and she not only smiled but also raised a trophy together. "Since this place can't hold it, it's better to stay at my place," Luochio muttered and left. Soon after, some people in the uniform of the moving company came in. Under the command of Lon Kai's secretary, they began to move the things here. Chapter 600. "Okay, you all go back. Leave this to me." Xiao Bao finally packed up the tools in the inspection room, turned off the lights, and left the workplace. He returned to his office with fatigue. When he looked at the time, it was already past 1 o'clock in the morning. Looking at the office that could not be described as dirty and messy, Xiao Bao sighed and looked at his section chief's seat again. He had a strong hunch that if the section chief did not come back, would he become another Old Qin? Of course, it was not a position, but like him, it could almost be described as a permanent office. It was so late, so Xiao Bao simply did not go home. Besides, it was a waste of time to go back and forth. Xiao Bao yawned, made instant noodles, sat in his seat, and turned on the display screen. In general, it's my personal time now, right? Xiao Bao thought. As a technician in forensic science, his life was too monotonous. Although the salary was okay, what was the difference between him and a salted fish if he repeated this kind of life every day without playing games? Xiao Bao ate the freshly cooked noodles while zooming in on the game interface in the small window. In the afternoon, something was sent to be tested, and then he had been busy until now. Damn, I really died. Xiao Bao shook his head and remembered that he was clearing a side mission in the wild when he went out. Then his character was still in the wild. Seeing that there were still a few monsters left to complete the mission, Xiao Bao, who gradually discovered his own obsessive-compulsive disorder under Old Qin's influence, yawned and decided to at least complete the mission before going to bed, and so on. He ran out of the city in the game alone, Zhongguan City. As a determined slacker, it had been more than a week since the last time he cheated others in the novice village. Yesterday, he finally succeeded in getting rid of the novice title smoothly. It's rare. Xiao Bao laughed twice. Thus, the professional cleric healer named Xiao Bao passed through the huge city gate and ran all the way to a sparsely populated area. However, as a cleric, his attack methods were really close to zero. If it wasn't for this kind of quest monster, Xiao Bao would have fallen asleep and seen if he could join the party tomorrow. Hey, there are still people doing missions so late? Xiao Bao looked at this area on the screen and found that someone had arrived a step earlier than him. He couldn't help but look at it curiously. Qianxiu? This name sounds familiar. Isn't he the knight in the team that I cheated last time? Don't doubt the memory of a technical dog. If he didn't have a good memory, how could he get a qualification that required a lot of professional knowledge? You're already so high-leveled. Why are you still killing these small monsters? Xiao Bao continued to observe the knight named Qianxiu and found that a pair of monster corpses had fallen beside him. The knight was like a robot, standing alone in the empty area. When the monsters respawned, he would immediately attack. Then, some of them stood there like wooden chickens, waiting for the monsters to respawn before moving again. A cheat. Xiao Bao subconsciously had such a thought. After all, he was a high-level Grand Knight with a full set of decent equipment. Wouldn't it be a little too boring for him to be farming mobs in the middle of the night? But when he thought about it, because of the encryption algorithm of this game, no one had successfully made a cheat on the black market section of the external discussion forum for the time being. In addition, Xiao Bao also found an interesting thing. That was, this knight actually did not do nothing but wait for the monsters to respawn. He could also drink. Yes, drink. In fact, he still held a large bottle of wine in his hand and would take a sip from it every once in a while. The character has this kind of action? Xiao Bao was taken aback, then he rolled a ball of dough and stuffed it into his mouth. He muttered, "How bored is this guy?" But thinking that he was eating instant noodles in the office in the middle of the night while playing games and waiting for sleepiness, he was also bored enough. Xiao Bao laughed at himself and manipulated his character to approach the Grand Knight. ID Xiao Bao, "Hey, brother, why are you so late?" When the alcohol flowed in the blood and made the heavy feeling in the head more intense, Qianxiu could temporarily forget some things. The blood splashing and screams of the monsters after they were injured increased his vague sense of excitement at the same time. Alcohol and blood. Under their interaction, Qianxiu didn't have to think too much. Killing these little monsters had almost no effect on him except to provide a meager amount of money. But at the same time, there would be no danger in killing these little monsters. Yes, there would be no danger. The feeling of hunger finally drove his body out of the room, but he could not bring in income if he did not work. Since the last time he deleted Gadotsi and the others as friends, Qianxiu had been in a state of inaction. He basically went out late at night and returned to the hotel before dawn. He did those simple solo missions alone. He did not care too much about the so-called level ranking. Now, he had fallen out of the first echelon. But it seemed that there was nothing wrong with this. He could drink, eat, and be stable. The most important thing was safety. Safe living. Hey, brother, why are you so late? When the voice came, Qian Xiu instinctively waved his sword toward the source of the voice. It was so late. The guards of Zhongguan City would not go out, let alone civilians. Then, there was only one possibility. It was a player. An almost morbid sense of tension made his whole body tense. In fact, he had always been in a malicious PK mode, but he had never taken the initiative to attack anyone. Priest? Xiao Bao. Qian Xiu glanced at the information of the approaching character. It was indeed a player. I just don't know if he is also a player. Qian Xiu still did not let down his guard. Except for the NPCs in this game, Qian Xiu had always been on high alert against all players. Don't be nervous. I have no malice, boss. The priest in front of him quickly waved his hands, looking like he wanted to clarify. Qian Xiu said calmly, then leave me. Don't come close to me. Xiao Bao was taken aback, then licked his face and said, well, boss, you don't have to be so cold, right? I am known as the milk god Xiao Bao, who will never cheat a priest. Are you farming monsters to collect materials? I will give you a buff to improve your efficiency. Then, I just need a few of these mission monsters. Shall we form a team? Win-win. Qian Xiu looked at the priest for a while before putting down the sword in his hand. He said calmly, you go. I don't team up with others. In addition, I remember you. You were the one who didn't enter the last instance in the novice village last time. Xiao Bao was suddenly embarrassed, smiled in front of the computer screen, and quickly said, boss, I also have my difficulties. Please be sure to understand the difficulties of the fishy party. Qian Xiu ignored him, and walked in front of Xiao Bao with a weapon. However, Xiao Bao caught up with him. Boss, have you gotten enough materials? Where are you going? Qian Xiu said a little irritably, don't follow me. I won't take you. Do the mission yourself. Don't think about relying on others all day. He had seen too many of this kind of bootlickers, but it was undeniable that this kind of existence was also a large group in the game. Relying? Is this guy still in the second year of middle school? Xiao Bao was taken aback and shrugged. Boss, I'm just following the principle of cooperation. I don't rely on you, okay? Why should I work harder if I can save some effort? Everyone is so busy at work. Of course, we have to allocate time reasonably, okay? Qian Xiu said, in this case you are wasting time following me. Go back and do your mission. Xiao Bao shook his head and said, I'm not doing it. Let's talk about it tomorrow. Anyway, my efficiency is too low. It's just that there are too few people at this time. I just got off work and can't sleep. I'm bored. It's okay to find someone to chat with. There were indeed such people in many games. They didn't participate in the game's leveling and fighting. They just chatted to pass the time. It seems that this Xiao Bao is this type? Qian Xiu frowned. This was basically the most difficult type for him to deal with. Under normal circumstances, he would choose to ignore the other party directly. After a long time, the other party would automatically give up and choose other targets to chat with. By the way, boss, where did you find this drinking action? Why didn't I see this action in this mission's action column? Chapter 601. For Qian Xiu, he had now lost the channel to directly obtain information from the outside world. For example, he could not read various strategies and gossip posts on the forum like ordinary players. Furthermore, he was even more unable to obtain information from the outside world. Of course, whatever happened in society was already at a level where he could ignore it. But there was only one thing. That was the sudden death of the game player. In addition to him, how many unknown people had entered the world of Jade Fantasy? The ability of the God King was terrifying. He needed a channel to obtain information. Xiao Bao might not be the most suitable candidate, but he was the first guy to bring this information to Qian Xiu. Although Qian Xiu didn't like to have too much communication with people, Xiao Bao's talkative personality would make him blabber even if Qian Xiu didn't ask much. But Qian Xiu didn't expect that things didn't go as smoothly as he imagined. At 9 o'clock in the morning, he saw Xiao Bao online, so he tested him and took the initiative to ask if Xiao Bao was online. "Oh, boss, wait a minute." 2 hours later, Xiao Bao still stood in the same place stupidly, motionless. Qian Xiu frowned and asked for the second time. Half an hour later, Xiao Bao finally responded, "I'm sorry, boss. I just had something to do and left. Do you have anything to tell me?" Wait, I'm busy." 3 hours later, Xiao Bao finally responded, "Boss? I'm back. What happened just now?" "You? When will you be free?" "It's hard to say. I have to be busy when there is a situation. The department is short of people recently. When you get off work, look for me." Qian Xiu finally had enough of this kind of waiting, so he replied. It was ridiculous to recruit him. It had always been others who were looking for him, and even humbled themselves to cooperate with him. He didn't expect that one day he would be waiting for a guy. And such a rookie. Until about 8 o'clock in the evening, Xiao Bao had a stable time to be online. He claimed. "Is it enough?" Qian Xiu stopped what he was doing and looked at the monster corpses all over the ground. He turned to look at Xiao Bao and asked. "Enough. Amazing. You cleared all the missions I accumulated in an hour. As expected of the big boss." Xiao Bao said rather happily, "But big boss, why did you bring me along?" Qian Xiu looked up at the wine and said calmly, "Just take it that I'm bored. Are you listening?" Xiao Bao said, "Haha, I'm sorry. I was watching some videos and got distracted." "Sigh, big brother, do you want to use voice chat? How slow is your typing?" "I don't like to use voice." "However," Xiao Bao said, "could it be a female boss in men's clothing? Hold your breasts up." Qian Xiu pretended not to hear it at this time, and suddenly said, "Can you look at the forum now?" "Ah, sure. What's wrong?" "Let me take a look at the Sleeping Tower strategy post." Xiao Bao was taken aback. "Boss, can't you look at it yourself? I don't like to leave the game interface. Look, tell me." Qian Xiu looked at Xiao Bao and said, "I won't clear the task for you for nothing. Just treat it as a reward." Xiao Bao thought for a while and said, "Boss, at your level, you should be able to directly go through the Sleeping Tower, right? Why do you need a guide?" Qian Xiu said, "I haven't done the main storyline inside yet. I'm too lazy to do it. Now that there is something to do, just follow the guide and save time." Xiao Bao said again, "Well, I didn't do it anyway. As I talk, let's go in and clear it. Otherwise, I'm not happy. I feel like I'm an underling. In terms of cooperation, it doesn't matter. You do the work and I'll look at the guide. By the way, can't we use voice chat?" "No voice chat. I'm going to accept the task. I'll wait for you at Sleeping Tower," Qian Xiu said and left directly. Xiao Bao shook his head and muttered, "Is this guy the kind of person who is used to being ordered around, the second generation?" But for Xiao Bao, no matter who the other party was, as long as both parties could get what they needed, he didn't mind. He wouldn't deliberately flatter anyone, but he wouldn't ignore people either. Although the salary could support him to spend more than a small amount of money, he was not a money spammer. Therefore, this method of mutual assistance and mutual benefit was naturally the best choice. It was rare that he was a big brother, but his temperament was a bit cold. Compared to Section Chief Qin, it's actually far worse. Xiao Bao shook his head. In terms of coldness, he really hadn't found anyone in the entire bureau who could be compared to the awesome section chief, who asked for leave and disappeared for so long without any news, but the bureau chief acted like he didn't know. Probably, he was recruited because he was better at dealing with this type of person? While thinking about this, Xiao Bao accepted the task. Soon after, on the first floor of Sleeping Tower. "Go this way. There is a level 21 elite in front of the door and 3 instance monsters. Pay attention to the poisonous scene. Qian Xiu nodded and asked Xiao Bao to wait outside the door. Soon after, he walked out directly and got the key to this room. Then, he looked at Xiao Bao and said calmly, "What's next?" "And this way. It's faster to say this way." While speaking, Xiao Bao threw a status supplement to Qian Xiu. Qian Xiu suddenly said, "Yesterday, you said that a few people died of exhaustion playing games. Wasn't it a rumor?" Xiao Bao said, "Big brother, where did you hear that? This is a rumor. The news has reported it, okay?" Qian Xiu said, "Really? How do you know it's not nonsense in the newspaper?" Xiao Bao said, "Probably because it's related to my work. In this regard, the news is relatively accurate. But speaking of it, jade fantasy is so powerful that it can actually kill people." Qian Xiu was startled. Sure enough, it was not wrong to choose Xiao Bao. This guy really likes to talk. He unconsciously revealed some things that he wanted to know. "You're saying that the people who died were all playing this game?" It was also mentioned on the forum, but the post was quickly deleted. Xiao Bao said casually, "Anyway, there are people who die playing games every once in a while. Most of them are overly addicted and don't have a good rest. Otherwise, it's a heart attack. There's nothing strange about it. Besides, there are indeed many hardcore players in this game who will die of their liver, Kiki." "Are these dead guys all from the same place? Aren't they? I remember that one seems to be from the north, and the other is from the southern special district, and then… I forgot." Xiao Bao suddenly said, "Oh, we're here. Get the key inside and you can go to the second floor." Qian Xiu didn't say anything and pushed the door directly in. But this time, Xiao Bao followed him in. Qian Xiu frowned and looked at him. "You just wait outside." Xiao Bao said, "It's so boring. I'm also playing games, okay? Things that you get without sewing won't last long. Besides, it always feels like you're playing like this, okay? I'll just play something else." With that said, Xiao Bao passed by Qian Xiu and threw a flash missile at a group of monsters rushing over in front. It was one of the limited 2 attack methods of a priest, and the attack power was abnormally low. Haha. Milk God Xiao Bao is also a skillful player. Xiao Bao's character was running around in the room, and he was very wretchedly kiting the monsters. Qian Xiu looked at this guy motionlessly. He always felt that he was very happy. "I say, boss. Don't just stand there. I can't bear it. Help! Blue sky. Don't just stand there. Come and help me." Qian Xiu subconsciously took out his sword. In an instant, the room was filled with the brilliance of the knight's sword. When a gray ball of light slowly separated from the screen made of white card and then floated in front of Boss Luo, Taiyinzi on the side widened his eyes. Because he didn't expect that, in just over a week, it was already the 7th soul. In other words, it was almost 1 soul a day, and it was improving. "Master, master!" There's a response again. "Mail, mail." Taiyinzi could hardly imagine his eyes. He felt that his heart seemed to be pounding. Because these were all counted in his performance. "Taiyinzi, it seems that you're going to make a fortune this time." Miss Maid suddenly chuckled next to Taiyinzi. "At this rate, it won't take long for you to earn a small holiday. Well, maybe I should give you some small rewards? Master, what do you think?" "Damn. Reward? Little Taoist, did I see a fake maid you ye?" "Master, master, I." Taiyinzi looked at Luoqiu expectantly. "Well, this channel is really good." Luoqiu nodded. "Although the quality is average, the advantage is that there is a continuous supply, and it is a one-way supply of this product. It completely saves the time to negotiate with the customer." "Taiyinzi, what reward do you want?" "Damn. Did I really make a comeback? Reward, reward. Well, suitable requirements and the like." Luoqiu nodded and smiled. "Or as Yu Yi said, you can also wait for a small holiday. Well, it can even offset the time of labor." Taiyinzi swallowed at this time, but he quickly forced himself to calm down. "I can't be arrogant so quickly. I must be steady. Otherwise, it will be bad if I leave an arrogant impression on the master. Besides, he always felt that there might be a trap. I don't want any reward. Tainzi raised his head and said with a righteous face, as a messenger under the master, I just want to do my duty to find more sources of income for the master. If the master is good, we, the subordinates, will be better. What a high awareness, Tainzi. Miss Maid narrowed her eyes. In this case, Tainzi, why don't you be the processor of this host? No problem. Of course this is. Tainzi patted his chest subconsciously and then opened his mouth wide. What? Host processor? Yes, a simple black card can no longer support the current algorithm, and increasing the number will take up too much space, so a more advanced processor is naturally the best choice. Miss Maid smiled and said, You are the black soul messenger and the architect of this plan. You are the most suitable person to do it. Tainzi, are you unwilling? Chapter 602. Beep, beep, beep. The EEG machine made rhythmic noises, but compared to the rhythmic noises, the image it displayed was very scattered. The patient retains some instinctive nerve reflexes and the ability to metabolize matter and energy. His cognitive ability is completely zombie-like, and there is no active activity. The doctor looked at Lon Kai, who was silent in the room, and finally said helplessly, President Lon, your brother is now completely in a vegetative state. Lon Kai's gaze stopped on Lon Xiu's face. Because of the change to a new VIP ward, the nurse had already cleaned up Lon Xiu's body and his appearance very well. Now he looked a little drier. Can he wake up? To be honest, for this type of patient, I'm afraid the world's medical community can't give you a correct answer. The doctor looked at the young entrepreneur with some fear. He was not the doctor who took over Lon Xiu at the beginning. Instead, after the hospital knew Lon Xiu's identity, they specially assigned him. He could be considered the best specialist in this hospital. But President Lon, don't worry, we will do our best to take care of your brother. Got it. Lon Kai nodded, walked in front of Lon Xiu, and narrowed his eyes. After a while, he brushed Lon Xiu's hair, leaned down, and said indifferently in his ear, Are you so unwilling to wake up? But this is also good. Perhaps this is better for you. In the end, Lon Kai looked at the doctor and said in a commanding tone, Remember, except for me, don't let anyone know that he is here. President Lon, why don't we send him to the newly built sanatorium? The doctor suggested at this time. The environment there is quieter and the air is better. Your brother will definitely be able to get the best care. Of course, it was the best. After all, the sanatorium was jointly developed by the hospital and Lon Kai. Then we'll do as you say. Lon Kai nodded. After taking one last look at Lon Xiu, he turned around and left. Brother Bao. Let's eat together, where are we going? In the canteen of the police station, Xiao Bao was hurriedly running out with his lunch. A colleague saw him and hurriedly greeted him. Xiao Bao shook his head and smiled. Next time, I'm busy. Sorry. It's okay. The colleagues in the next department just smiled. Everyone knew that Baby Chu had been quite miserable recently. It was said that he hadn't left for 4 or 5 days. However, was he really that busy? His colleague looked at Sir Ma, who was leisurely reading the newspaper in the canteen. Usually, Sir Ma's appearance meant that the world was peaceful recently. Of course, Xiaobao was very busy, but he was not busy with work. As soon as he returned to his office, Xiaobao closed the door and pulled up the curtains. He couldn't wait to open Jade Fantasy. How should I put this? Could it be that he had gotten to know a big boss recently? Those relatively difficult quests or daily dungeons could basically be won by lying down, which was the greatest joy for a person like him who was a zero pay-to-win player. Xiaobao said, Boss, I'm sorry. There are many people in the cafeteria. It takes a long time to get food. Today we'll eat. Qian Xiu, what you eat has nothing to do with me. Xiaobao, then I'll turn on the autofollow mode and eat first. Bahamut has been updated. I'll watch it first, Qianxiu. But this feeling wasn't unpleasant. Qianxiu didn't dislike Xiao Bao's behavior. Although Xiao Bao was a chatterbox, he was never late when he changed his status. It was as if he had grasped the time. He wouldn't point fingers or grovel. Although he called Qianxiu Big Boss, it was more like he was teasing him. He even knew his own thoughts very well, like an omnipotent assistant. In reality, such a person actually exists? Qianxiu silently slashed the monsters that appeared in front of him. As he killed, he could hear Xiao Bao's voice. This is enough. Go to Binghe. He didn't even need to look at the progress of the quest. Really wasn't annoying. Player, 1,000 delicate feathers, used the server loudspeaker. Xiao Bao suddenly said, "This guy is here again? I told her that this is not how to find people." Qianxiu stopped and frowned. Do you know this player? Xiao Bao said, Is she okay? Isn't she a celebrity? I was bored watching her using the loudspeaker a few days ago, so I chatted with her privately. Qianxiu, you succeeded? Xiao Bao said, It's not a success, right? She seems to respond to everyone who takes the initiative to chat with her privately. Think about it from another perspective. She wants to find this Lan Tian so much. She probably won't let go of anyone who will chat with her privately, right? Qianxiu, really? What are you guys talking about? Xiao Bao shrugged and said, Just chatting. What else can we talk about? Big Boss, do you want to know her too? Just poke her directly. This guy is the type who will reply when poked. Qianxiu, where are we going next? Xiao Bao, let me see. Let's go. After that, Qianxiu didn't speak again. But Xiao Bao didn't mind. This Big Boss did spend a lot of time not talking. Probably because he was used to Section Chief Qin's silence, Xiao Bao unexpectedly adapted to such a situation. After making up for Qianxiu's status, Xiao Bao yawned in front of the computer. Probably because he started to feel sleepy after lunch. This guy is still using the loudspeaker. Xiao Bao shook his head and clicked on a private chat. ID Xiao Bao, I said, you can't find people like this. If they are deliberately avoiding you, they won't respond to you at all. If they are not in this game, aren't you burning money, dear? ID 1,000 delicate feathers. If you are not blue sky, why do you care about me? Xiao Bao. Sure enough, it's the tone of a European. Can you at least understand us who eat dirt? System. 1,000 delicate feathers transferred 5,000 diamonds to Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao. Why did you give me diamonds? This is 500 yuan, dear. 1,000 delicate feathers. Didn't you ask me to understand you? System. Xiao Bao rejected 1,000 delicate feathers transfer. The diamonds have been recovered. Xiao Bao. My lady, there is a limit to being willful. It's not easy to make money. It's just playing a game. Don't take it too seriously. Even if you don't feel heartache, I feel sad. 1,000 delicate feathers. It's not my money. I don't feel heartache at all. Take it or leave it. Xiao Bao. Why do I encounter weird guys recently? You and my family's Big Boss are simply two extremes. 1,000 delicate feathers. Big Boss? Xiao Bao. Qianxiu, a lonely night. Isn't he handsome? Haha. For a while, 1,000 delicate feathers did not reply. Just as Xiao Bao planned to hang up the game and take a nap, 1,000 delicate feathers reply suddenly flashed. 1,000 delicate feathers. Where are you? I'll come and find you. Xiao Bao, I'm going offline. I have to take a nap. 1,000 delicate feathers. Hi. Hi. Or, I'll greet you through the loudspeaker every day. Xiao Bao moved his mouth and glanced at Qianxiu, who was slashing monsters on the screen. He scratched his hair randomly and typed a few words on the chat window. Entrance of Ice Valley. Jade Fantasy. On a lonely snowy peak, an old man with a sage-like demeanor was looking into the distance. His eyes contained extremely complicated things. Behind the old man, a male archer wearing light leather armor and having the appearance of an elf was looking at the old man in surprise. You are the Lord God? The male elf archer swallowed his saliva at this time. I really came to the game? The old man slowly turned around at this time. He looked at the male player, stroked his long beard, and said calmly, "My name is Tyene, the master of this world. Now I will explain some of the rules of this world to you." The male elf archer quickly said, "I know. I will disappear permanently when I die for the second time, right? This is clear when you buy it." The old man named Tyene still said indifferently, "This world is full of crises. You may die at any time. If you don't want to live here without doing anything, then go and become stronger. This is a world where the strong preys on the weak. Only those with the spirit of adventure can become immortal legends." "Then what should I do?" The male elf frowned. Elder Tyene waved his hand at the male elf. "I've given you a cheat. Go, the chosen one." Watching the male elf disappear into the snowy peak with a fanatical face, the old man looked up at the sky and suddenly felt less sad. "Damn! I'm the god of creation here." A white light was projected in front of the old man. A flustered female priest came out of the white light. "My name is Tyene, the master of this place." Chapter 603. How long had she been looking for Lantion? Day and night seemed to make no difference to her. Trapped in this luxurious house, she was like a bird without wings. Without wings, the bird had no way to fly to Lantion. Her heart gradually began to beat faster. Looking at the rapidly moving scenery on the screen, she finally let her character land in a snowy area. The monsters wandering here wanted to rush up to her in an instant, but they couldn't resist the attack of the powerful bough in her hand and fell down one after another. 1,000 delicate feathers walked toward the entrance of the valley. She had already seen 2 guys moving there. Lantion. When he heard such a voice, Qian Xiu's hand movements slowed down subconsciously, but only for a moment. He still attacked the monsters in front of him nimbly until he killed them completely. Xiao Bao said in surprise at this moment, "Damn, you really came?" Only then did Qian Xiu stop completely. He sat down for a while, took a deep breath, and turned around calmly. Such a small anomaly was completely invisible to others. In this regard, he had done several experiments on Xiao Bao. After all, he and the people outside were separated by a screen, a latitude. Qian Xiu said calmly, "Is she looking for you?" Xiao Bao said, Sorry, probably, or not?" Xiao Bao said and walked toward 1,000 delicate feathers. "Well, why are you looking for me? Just talk to me directly. You don't have to come all the way here, right?" But Xiao Bao was soon surprised to find that 1,000 delicate feathers ignored him at all, but walked directly to Qian Xiu without saying a word. Qian Xiu looked at the woman and asked coldly, "What do you want to do?" Even if he knew that no matter what kind of tone he used, no matter how excited, uncomfortable, or angry he was, what appeared in front of the other party was just a few simple words. 1,000 delicate feathers asked with uncertain words, "Lantion?" Qian Xiu said, "Are you the lunatic who spammed the loudspeaker all day? Don't do that anymore. It's annoying to spam the screen all day." 1,000 delicate feathers said, "Why do you use the name Qian Xiu?" Qian Xiu took a deep breath. "Are you sick? What does it have to do with you what name I use? If you're sick, go to the hospital." Xiao Bao subconsciously frowned as he watched the 2 of them talking in the wild. This big shot's tone seemed a little strange. This was just Xiao Bao's feeling. After getting along with him for some time, he felt that this big boss didn't seem to be the kind of person who would take the initiative to approach strangers. After a moment of silence, 1,000 delicate feathers suddenly took off all of her equipment, leaving only a set of useless clothing. Then, she walked into the midst of a monster. The monster didn't care about anything. At this time, it attacked directly. Its sharp teeth bit 1,000 feathers' soft body. Fresh blood flowed out crazily, splashing a large amount of blood-red plum blossoms on the snowy ground. She just let this monster bite her body, without any intention of resisting. F***ck. "Madam, what are you doing?" Xiao Bao hurriedly asked. He was rather puzzled. Why was she harming herself like this? Of course, this was just self-mutilation in the game. Xiao Bao had no intention of taking action. He was no match for him. But in Qian Xiu's vision, this was an extremely cruel and painful scene, a real, cruel, and ruthless scene. She still used a character composition that could be recognized at a glance. That was how she appeared in front of him. The monster bit her shoulder. He could hear the sound of bones breaking. Qian Xiu forced himself to turn off all the sound effects, making the world dead silent. As soon as the monster looked up, the piece of meat stained with her bright red blood was chewing in its mouth. She was like a lifeless wax figure. There was no expression of pain on her face. She just looked at it like this. Qian Xiu frantically adjusted the brightness of the world, making everything dim and immersing everything in front of him in darkness. The monster attacked again. Its bloody mouth bit directly on her abdomen and lifted her up. He could still see her body bending in this huge mouth because of the broken back. Qian Xiu clenched his fists and his eyes were bloodshot. You are not him, only that voice. Only her voice came. The voice that he was familiar with, the voice that stung him. It came like this. He promised me that he would never let me get hurt. He promised me. I'm sorry to disturb you. Finally, the monster completely bit her body. When half of the body fell on the snow, the body also turned into white light and disappeared. This lady, she won't do this every time she finds someone, right? Xiao Bao typed at this time. She is really infatuated. Fortunately, it's a game. If it were in the real world, would she stab herself with that knife? But a gorgeous brilliance passed by Xiao Bao's eyes at this moment. It directly hit the monster that had just eaten and hit it to the ground in an instant. Qian Xiu raised his sword, and a terrifying colorful light burst out from his body. He directly rushed to the front of the fallen monster and hit it frantically. The combo number rose wildly in front of Xiao Bao's computer. The monster's health bar had long been emptied. But this game had such a setting. If the combo was not interrupted, the attack could continue. He had never seen such a terrifying combo number. Like the most sophisticated machine, the cooldown time of all skills was optimally connected. The monster's body did not fall to the ground even once. Damn, how fast is his hand speed to do this? 500 combo. Is this guy crazy? Xiao Bao looked at the number that was still rising and subconsciously frowned. He promised me that he would never let me get hurt. Blood Bones' face. He promised me that he would never let me get hurt. I can't stop the sword in my hand. I can't control the discomfort of not being able to breathe. I can't forget this scene. Even if the body became heavy and sore because of such an attack rhythm, and the muscles seemed to be torn after moving again, I can't stop. Finally, all the potions that could replenish my magic power were drunk, and I could no longer use skills. The monster's body was finally sent into the air by a powerful shock wave. It finally exploded in the sky. The sword in Qian Xiu's hand fell from his palm. He could no longer move his arms. His entire body was drenched in sweat. In the end, he looked at the flesh and blood that filled the sky and let out an extremely sorrowful roar. He fell onto the snowy ground and fainted. 3,793 combo. Damn, is this a human? However, Xiao Bao couldn't help but frown when he saw Qian Xiu's character stopped and stood motionless. At this moment, the monsters around him began to swarm over again. Boss? Boss? Are you there? Boss? Qian Xiu still stood motionless in the same place. He knew that one of the monsters clawed at him, but there was still no reaction. Disconnected? Or did you go away? Xiao Bao couldn't help but frown. Qian Xiu finally regained some consciousness. When he opened his eyes, he found that he was already in the resurrection point of Zhongguan City. Have I used up one death? Qian Xiu frowned subconsciously and found that Xiao Bao was also next to him at this moment. Qian Xiu, Xiao Bao? Are you there? Xiao Bao. Oh, boss, you are back? I was unconscious. Qian Xiu swallowed the words he wanted to say subconsciously. How long has it been? Don't you know the time when you walk away? Xiao Bao asked curiously, but he still said directly, It's been more than 3 hours, right? Here. Did I die and come back? Both of you died and came back together. Xiao Bao said, You will lose experience if you die in the wild. I tried my best, but both of us died and came back together. Qian Xiu frowned and said, You don't have to care about me. There is no need to die with me once. Xiao Bao sent a haha emoji and said, I'm fine, but it's not easy for you to level up. You don't feel heartache if you lose experience, but I do. Besides, I always feel a little sorry for throwing you away. Qian Xiu was silent and looked at Xiao Bao silently. What kind of person would Xiao Bao be outside the screen? Chapter 604. She had forgotten how many times she had been disappointed. In her memory, she had a sudden impulse like this. Her heart had sped up several times, even though it was always the result of disappointment. After committing suicide, the character would automatically return to the resurrection point in the city. As for the loss caused by such a death, it was meaningless to her. She chose to log off. She stared blankly at the screen for a while, and then directly lay on the table. For a while, she was still lying on the table, but she reached out and opened the drawer. Her arms and palms were slowly trembling. There was an item in the drawer that could allow her to pull herself away from this loss and pain in a short time. It was a delicate knife. She held the knife in her right hand, and then slowly pulled open the wound on her left arm. She pressed the cold blade on the skin of her arm. This was an almost flawless skin, if the slender scars on it could be erased. It had always been like this. Ever since that person left, one night, she realized that the pain of being torn apart could slightly soothe her. Her eyes began to gradually lose focus, and the sharp blade began to draw a small slanted wound on her pale skin. Blood began to spread along the edge of the blade to both sides. But she couldn't continue. In an instant, the pleasure brought by this action disappeared because of a sudden knock on the door. She heard the voice of another man, the man she hated but couldn't leave. Xiao Rou, the servant said, You haven't eaten again, right? Xiao Rou, did you hear what I said? Answer me. She silently looked at the door and subconsciously walked to the door. Xiao Rou? Say something. Do you not want to see me that much? Don't you know if the door is locked or not? Xiao Rou covered the wound on her arm, and then quickly pulled down her sleeve. I'll ask the servant to heat up some food for you. Remember to eat. The man was silent for a while, then calmly said a sentence. But just as the man was about to turn around and leave, the door was suddenly opened. Xiao Rou behind him angrily shouted at him, Lan Kai, do you not want to see me that much? Her voice resounded throughout the entire floor. The servants who were cleaning downstairs heard her and hurriedly ran away. They quickly opened the glass window of the living room and walked out into the garden. Lan Kai stopped there and then slowly turned around. His pupils contracted slightly. Xiao Rou sneered. At this time, she pushed her hair aside bit by bit. On the left side of her face, there was a scar that stretched from the corner of her eye all the way down to her chin. It was like a ferocious centipede crawling on her originally delicate face. You dare to look again? Lan Kai took a deep breath and exhaled deeply. He looked to the side and said indifferently, If you want, these injuries can be fixed at any time. The current plastic surgery technology is very good. Soon, it will be no different from before. Xiao Rou looked at Lan Kai and sneered. She shook her head and retreated back into the room like a ghost. Her pale expression was embellished by the scar on her face. Her smile was extremely cold. She enunciated, I won't let it disappear. I want you to remember forever. Remember how you treated me, forever and ever. Until the door of the room was closed, Lan Kai seemed to have drained all his strength. He held his forehead with one hand, gasped for breath, and leaned against the wall. After a long time, Lon Kai seemed to have recovered some strength and slowly walked down the stairs. The servant outside the yard quietly peeked at this time, so he quickly opened the window and walked in. "Sir," the servant hesitated to speak. Lon Kai shook his head and waved his hand. "Get some food and send it up. It doesn't matter if I eat it or not." "I see." The servant sighed and silently took the food into the kitchen. Lon Kai took a bottle of red wine and went to the study room by himself. Sometimes, he really didn't want to come back to this cold place. Qian Xiu looked at Xiao Bao silently for a while. The resurrection point flashed several times. Some people rushed to leave, and some went offline on the spot. Just as Qian Xiu was about to say something, Xiao Bao suddenly said, "Forget it. If you don't want to say it, then don't say it. Boss, do you still want to do the mission? If you don't, I will go offline. I haven't been home for a few days. I want to go back tonight." Qian Xiu nodded silently and then said softly, "Okay." Before going offline, Xiao Bao said again, "It's better not to meet. But what if you can't forget?" Qian Xiu was stunned. Xiao Bao had disappeared. He looked up at the sky that was more realistic than reality. The world under the setting sun was quiet orange-red. He finally understood why he wanted to come here. Because he couldn't forget, but he couldn't meet. He couldn't meet. If he escaped to this world, then he didn't have to suppress this crazy longing that couldn't disappear. Because if he was separated by two different worlds, he knew that there was no possibility of meeting again. He had to find something to do. The more trivial and troublesome it was, the better. When he was so busy that he didn't think, Qian Xiu remembered his original plan to build a new weapon. It was just that the last time he bumped into another human being who came to this game in addition to himself, there was still a small part of the materials left to collect, so he came back in a hurry. Since then, he had been in a state of depression because he was afraid that he had killed a living person. It was also because of a kind of fear. Later, he accidentally met Xiao Bao. During this time, he had been with him, so he didn't continue to build weapons. On the way to the novice village's material collection place, Qian Xiu always felt that something was missing around him. He was missing a guy who kept chattering, but he always didn't hate him. But there weren't many materials left to build weapons last time. It had only taken him a little more than an hour to successfully collect all of them. Qian Xiu was suddenly tired of this kind of day of killing monsters every day. Although this kind of high-intensity killing life always made people in a state of excitement, once it stopped, an unprecedented tiredness could quickly make people extremely tired. At this moment, he didn't want to do anything. He just wanted to lie down. It would be better if he could fall asleep. But it was obviously impossible in such a place in the wild. He had already died once. If he died twice, it meant that Qian Xiu would also disappear from this world. He had asked himself why he was still alive. Perhaps ending it directly was the best choice. He also had such an action, but in the end, he couldn't overcome the fear when death came. It was as if he suddenly woke up from a nightmare. He was cold all over, gasping for breath, his heart was beating violently, and his whole body was trembling. In the end, he didn't have the courage to take the last step. "Mr. Knight over there, can you go away for a while? You may have stepped on the place where the golden earthworm I want to catch is hidden." Qian Xiu was stunned. He turned his head and looked at the guy who spoke to him. A very low level, level 4, a very weak wizard. He is still wearing the most basic novice, whiteboard wizard robe. The server has been open for so long. Is there still such a low-level account? If it is a newcomer, he will generally choose a new server. Why would he deliberately come to this service area that has been open for some time? Is it someone else's alternate account? LQ. This wizard's ID. This LQ wizard was indeed squatting on the ground at this moment, holding a small shovel in his hand. There was also a basket next to him. He squatted on the moist soil like this, as if he didn't mind the heat. He was indeed digging for earthworms. Qian Xiu subconsciously looked at the surrounding environment. It turned out that he had unknowingly walked to the edge of the lake. At that time, he just planned to find a place where no one was around to stay. This quiet environment felt good. Perhaps because this Smurf was only level 4, it was like a small monster to Qian Xiu. Even if he attacked dozens of times, it was impossible to break Qian Xiu's equipment defense. Qian Xiu suddenly asked, "Why are you catching earthworms?" LQ said, "Fishing. Fishing naturally requires bait, right?" Qian Xiu was stunned. Such an answer was normal, but he suddenly felt that he had asked a very redundant question. "Are you going to practice a life profession?" LQ stood up. "I don't have this plan for the time being. I just want to do a mission. I heard that I need to use this golden earthworm. I don't play for long each time, so I haven't finished a mission. Moreover, I don't know how long I can play this game." Qian Xiu frowned. "Are you going to fish for the golden carp king?" "Yes, is there a problem?" Qian Xiu said helplessly. "What a lucky guy. Many people want to do this mission but can't find it. Instead, you, a person who doesn't play much, encountered it." The official announcement of the Golden Carp King mission stated that there would only be one Golden Carp King randomly appearing in all service areas. The reward would also be limited, and it would not appear in the prize pool in the future. "Don't you think you're lucky?" LQ said, "So that's the case. No wonder it is so difficult. It seems that it is a waste for me to encounter it." Qian Xiu shook his head and said, "It is more than a waste. It is a reckless waste of God's gift." System. Player LQ proposed to you a temporary team and share the mission Golden Carp King. Do you accept? Qian Xiu said in surprise. "What are you doing?" LQ said, "I said that I may not play for long. Since such a mission is given to me, it is naturally a waste. You said that many players want to encounter it, including yourself, right? I simply enjoy the fun of doing this kind of mission to pass the time. The rewards are useless to me. How about this? You help me catch the earthworms and complete it together. The reward is yours." Qian Xiu had an instinctive resistance to this kind of kindness. He did not believe that there would be such a free lunch. He shook his head and said, "No need. The mission is yours. The reward is naturally yours. I won't snatch it." LQ didn't insist. He just nodded and cancelled this temporary invitation. Qian Xiu had a strange feeling about his quick acceptance of good advice. Qian Xiu felt that this guy was very far away from him. It was even farther than the distance between the screen and this world. LQ walked toward Qian Xiu at this time. Except for Xiao Bao, Qian Xiu would subconsciously refuse other guys' initiative to approach him. He quickly took 2 steps back and always kept a certain distance from the other party. But this fishing mage Smurf did not say anything. He just squatted down where Qian Xiu originally stood and continued to dig the soil on the ground with a shovel. He seemed to be very happy. "And there is one here as well." An earthworm exuding a faint golden light drilled out of the dug soil and was sent into the basket. LQ shook the basket with both hands at this time, then walked directly toward the small wooden bridge that extended out from the lake. He took out the fishing rod, reached out to grab the golden earthworm in the basket, pinned it on the hook, and then threw it out. He sat quietly at the end of the small bridge. Qian Xiu found something wrong at this time. Many of this mage Smurf's movements looked very natural, as if there were no extra restrictions. Even though he did not have much expression, at least there were some subtle body movements. Like Xiao Bao, there would not be such subtle and vivid body movements in front of him. Could it be that this level 4 mage Smurf is also? Qian Xiu subconsciously pressed his hand on the hilt of his sword and clenched it hard, but he soon relaxed again. Last time, it was because that guy's behavior completely crossed his moral bottom line. He couldn't help but make a move because he was furious. But this time, he was just fishing. He did nothing at all. He had no position to attack the other party, even if the other party was the same as himself. Besides, this place did not allow any PK. This was a completely safe zone. I may not play this game for too long. Thinking of what the other party said, Qian Xiu thought, it is probably because there is a certain death limit. After exceeding it, it will disappear, right? Then, if I have such considerations, has this guy also considered the same problem in his heart? After all, if he is really the same type as me, he should have noticed my body movements. Qian Xiu frowned. In fact, except for the guy who was killed last time, he had not encountered anything similar. Of course, this had a lot to do with him trying to avoid and hide himself. Qian Xiu walked to the small bridge, and came to the side of the little mage. He stood and looked at the small lake. It seemed that it could be quiet here all of a sudden. The water vapor gathered in the center of the small lake and looked hazy. Qian Xiu subconsciously exhaled a mouthful of foul air, took out a bottle of wine, and sat down. The fish hook on the lake sank and rippled in circles. The little mage pulled up the fishing rod and saw that the bait on the hook had disappeared. A fish was biting on it, but it was obviously not the golden carp king that needed to be fished up. Qian Xiu looked at it like this and found that the little mage just smiled simply. He was not disappointed at all. He put the bait again and then threw it again. Qian Xiu said coldly, "Jiang Taigong is fishing. Those who are willing to take the bait. I came here. Am I the one who took the bait?" LQ turned around. "I am not fishing for people. I am fishing for fish." Qian Xiu shook his head and said, "You can't catch anything like this. If it is not willing, it will not take the bait." LQ said, "Didn't you say that the Carp King likes to eat this kind of earthworm? Since it likes it, it will naturally take the bait." Qian Xiu still shook his head and said, "But it is also quite smart. If it knows that there is danger, its caution is enough to suppress the urge to eat. Besides, it has so many choices at the bottom of the lake. There is no need to put itself in danger for the sake of temptation." LQ smiled and continued to look at the motionless lake. "I have to try. After all, this is the latest information I have found so far." Qian Xiu took a sip, lay down, and looked at the sky. "No one will be a moth to the flame." LQ said, "Then, where did this idiom come from?" Qian Xiu turned around, rested his head on his arm, closed his eyes and said calmly, "Who knows? Or, in fact, no one has really tried it, so I thought of it myself." LQ said, But I still want to try. Otherwise, the effort of catching earthworms will be in vain." Qian Xiu said calmly, "Up to you. Anyway, you are the only one who is disappointed. It has nothing to do with me." Quietly, Qian Xiu was a little tired, and seemed to have forgotten everything. Mage LQ used up the last bait, but he still did not catch the golden carp king. He smiled. "Come back tomorrow." He glanced at Qian Xiu. He should be asleep. The little sorcerer carried the basket and slowly walked away. Perhaps it was a little cold. Even if he was asleep, Qian Xiu instinctively wrapped his body. Chapter 605. Mom made dumplings. Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao, who had just walked out of the bathroom and was wiping his wet hair with a towel, heard his mother's words. At this moment, his father was sitting in the living room and reading the newspaper. "Mom, didn't we just finish our meal? How can I eat so much?" Xiao Bao couldn't help but laugh. Xiao Bao's mother said, "Look at you, you worked overtime for several days and didn't come back. Eating the things in the police station every day, is that nutritious? Eat some. Look at you, as thin as a monkey." Okay, I'll eat. Xiao Bao reluctantly agreed. He squeezed his mother's shoulders and coaxed, "My mom's dumplings are unparalleled in the world." Poor. Xiao Bao's mother laughed and scolded, "Your mouth, when will you use it to deal with girls? Your mom will be at peace." Dad? It seems that we haven't played a game for a long time, right? Why don't we play a game of chess? Xiao Bao immediately sat down and quickly took out a chessboard from under the coffee table. Xiao Bao's mother put her hands on her waist and said, "You brat. Let's talk business. What happened to the daughter of the president that I introduced to you last time? There seems to be no news?" Ha 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 ha. Is there such a thing? Yes, I remember, there is such a thing. Xiao Bao laughed and dealt with it with a headache all the way. It was not until 10 o'clock that Xiao Bao escaped back to his room. He breathed a sigh of relief and lay on the bed. But as a senior cultivator, Xiao Bao found that his own bed actually felt strange. Who wouldn't go over? After a while, Xiao Bao, who had an inexplicable irritation in his heart, grabbed his hair hard and crawled to the front of the computer. While on the internet, he chewed on melon seeds and browsed the posts to see if there was anything worth following. However, he still felt a little irritated. Have I been playing the silent game too much recently? Xiao Bao suddenly had such a thought. Before this, Xiao Bao was browsing the posts in a comprehensive forum that gamers often went to. Search Blue Sky. Xiao Bao subconsciously searched for this name, and then he was very surprised to find that there were unexpectedly many posts related to Blue Sky. Moreover, Thousand Delicate Feathers was often mentioned in Blue Sky's posts. It was as if she was tied up. Xiao Bao realized that Blue Sky was a real god. He first appeared in a game 4 years ago and was known as one of the 5 tycoons in the entire server. Not only was he a super rich tycoon, but he was also in the technical faction. With the same equipment, he beat a group of liver emperors. And Thousand Delicate Feathers was Blue Sky's marriage partner in this game, another one of the 5 tycoons. Over the past 2 years, Blue Sky had played a few different names. He had always used the name Blue Sky, stood at the top of the pyramid, and married Thousand Delicate Feathers. Later on, for some unknown reason, in the last game, Blue Sky suddenly broke off the engagement with Thousand Delicate Feathers, and then directly deleted the file and disappeared. After that, until now, Thousand Delicate Feathers was still active in various games. Just like in Jade Fantasy, Thousand Delicate Feathers had been frantically searching for Blue Sky. Damn. It turns out that it's not just Jade Fantasy. This Thousand Delicate Feathers is actually playing 5 games at the same time? Xiao Bao looked at the posts from different games and was so surprised that he couldn't close his mouth. This woman, could it be that she has succeeded in becoming an immortal? Based on this situation, the nosy and bored gossipers began to discuss the 2 legendary figures in the game world, Thousand Delicate Feathers and Blue Sky. Some said that these 2 were husband and wife in real life and later divorced. Some said that Blue Sky was a nouveau riche who abandoned Thousand Delicate Feathers. Some said that Thousand Delicate Feathers was an empty and lonely woman, and Blue Sky was just a gigolo. The gigolo cheated on the rich woman's husband and received revenge in real life. Some said that Blue Sky had already left the game world, and Thousand Delicate Feathers was still intoxicated in the virtual world. She had been unable to accept Blue Sky's departure, so she kept wandering in various games, looking for Blue Sky in her heart, and couldn't get away. There were all kinds of rumors, but those who claimed to know couldn't provide any real evidence. The true relationship between Blue Sky and Thousand Delicate Feathers was still wrapped in a thick fog. In the forum, Xiao Bao also saw a lot of game videos uploaded by players, including Blue Sky's battle videos in other games. Xiao Bao curiously clicked on it and watched it. He found that this Blue Sky was indeed a nightmare for non-Krypton players. His skills were really awesome, and he especially liked to get high combos in games with combo system. Looking at Blue Sky's record-breaking combo in one of the games, Xiao Bao couldn't help but think of the inhuman scene of Qian Xiu at the entrance of Ice Valley during the day in Jade Fantasy. It was close to 4,000 combos. It felt as if 2 figures gradually overlapped in front of him. Xiao Bao frowned and subconsciously logged into Jade Fantasy. He opened the friends list and found that Qian Xiu's avatar was still lit up, so he casually sent a greeting emoji. To Xiao Bao's surprise, Qian Xiu set to refuse to receive instant messages, and did not show his location to anyone. As for Thousand Delicate Feathers, she was not online. Xiao Bao suddenly felt that this game seemed to be a lot more deserted. Looking at Zhongguan City, which had few people because it was night, he suddenly felt at a loss. Xiao Bao sat in front of the computer blankly for more than half an hour, then sent an email to Qian Xiu. After that, he went offline directly, climbed into bed, and fell asleep. But soon after, Xiao Bao got up irritably again, opened the game and went online again. Then, he sent an email to Thousand Delicate Feathers, and then went offline again. He lay back on the bed, hugged the pillow, and gradually fell asleep. A trace of coolness made Qian Xiu shudder. When he opened his eyes, he even found that his eyelashes were a little wet. The surroundings were white, covering all his vision. He sat up, reached out and rubbed his forehead. He glanced at the time and realized that he had actually spent a whole night in such a place. His head was still very dizzy, and even a little painful. It was probably because of the hangover. But he actually spent such a long time on this lakeside bridge in the wild. It still made Qian Xiu sigh secretly. How much did he drink? Anyway, the stock of wine in the item prop backpack had been reduced to less than half. When did you leave? Qian Xiu looked around. His head was too heavy. He just remembered that he met a fishing smurf here yesterday. It seemed that he fell asleep after talking about some boring and strange topic. The system prompted that there was an unread email from Xiao Bao. It simply asked him where he was. Qian Xiu glanced at it and deleted it directly. Then, he opened the friends list and looked at the only friend profile picture. He swiped the operation interface with his finger and approached the delete item. But this time, Qian Xiu stopped when he was about to delete the guys who broke into his life without hesitation like in the past. He suddenly waved his fingers and made all the interfaces disappear. A bottle of wine appeared in his palm again. He unscrewed the lid, ignored the objection of his stomach, and drank by himself. You are still here? There was a sound of footsteps on the small wooden bridge. In the white mist of the lakeside, a figure gradually became clear in Qian Xiu's sight in the fog. He held a fishing rod in one hand and a basket in the other. It was the little fishing mage he met yesterday, LQ. Do you come here every day? Qian Xiu nodded and threw the empty wine bottle on the lake. Then, he heard some crashing sounds. It turned out that there were already many wine bottles floating on the lake. They were motionless on the calm water. It was because of the splash caused by the toss this time that they collided again. Did I really drink so much? The little fishing mage sat down in the same position as yesterday and began to hit the bait on the hook. It was still the golden earthworm. It seems that this little fishing mage has dug a new batch of bait before coming here? It's okay. I will come here to fish when I think of it. LQ smiled slightly and held the fishing rod with both hands. Anyway, this mission has no time limit. If you keep fishing, you should be able to catch it. Qian Xiu shook his head, leaned against the wooden stake of the small bridge, and said, Someone encountered this mission during the test, but it was not completed until the end of the test. At that time, in the internal communication group, almost everyone participated in the discussion of this mission. All methods were tried, but the result was still failure. If you should give up, just give up. Why waste time? Although it is only a limited item, according to the official description, it is not something that must be obtained. Some things can't be done with persistence. Why waste time? The little sorcerer pulled up the baited hook and continued to reel in the bait patiently as he said, Maybe it's because I have more time on my hands? Besides, since this mission is set up and there is a reward announcement, it is not impossible for people to complete it, right? Qian Xiu was silent for a while. Even if it is a fact, and there is an end result of the choice, isn't there a situation in the world where you can't walk through it even if there is a path? Just like if a monkey is trapped in an iron cage, and then thrown on an isolated island, waiting for its end, is there anything else other than death? Even if there is a situation where it can live freely on the island as long as the cage is opened. LQ smiled and said, Then such a setting is really too difficult. This monkey really has no other choice but to die. Right? Qian Xiu's head gently knocked on the wooden stake, looking at the vast expanse of whiteness. Not only is it too difficult, but it is also too ruthless and cruel. And that's true. LQ nodded. The two did their own things. After a while, LQ suddenly said, "But if a key falls in front of the monkey, can't the monkey come out?" Qian Xiu chuckled and said, "How can the key fall? This probability is a few levels lower than a death row prisoner being able to become a national leader, right? I'm talking about modern society. There is no such situation as in ancient times." LQ smiled and said, "You are really good at setting up this kind of ruthless situation. But suppose that even in this situation, it still happens?" Qian Xiu frowned and looked at the little mage fishing. He pondered for a while before muttering to himself, "In that case, even if the monkey can come out on the isolated island, there is only loneliness waiting for the monkey, and then it is still death." The little mage fishing put a new piece of bait and threw the fishing rod out again. Qian Xiu shook his head. He didn't know what he was insisting on. He was really like a bored guy who had so much time that he needed to spend it in this way. "The fog is gone. I should go." Qian Xiu stood up. He was a little shaky, probably due to the effect of alcohol. He looked at the little mage fishing. "You continue. After all, as you said, since it is a mission set up, maybe there is a way to complete it. Not the monkey on the isolated island. The result has already been decided. And, if you can fish it out, I will tell you." LQ stood up and looked at Qian Xiu. "Is this a farewell?" Qian Xiu was taken aback. He smiled subconsciously, shook his head, turned around and waved his hand casually. "I hope you can succeed. But I won't come here again. It has nothing to do with me whether you can catch it or not." He disappeared into the mist that had not completely dissipated. The little mage fishing continued to fish again. Soon after, there was the sound of scripting and talking on the bridge again. "Master, has anyone been here?" "So the little mage fishing." Boss Luo patted the spot next to him. "Don't you need to design a new algorithm today?" Miss Maid lifted her skirt slightly, sat down sideways and whispered, "The algorithm has been done. Next, let Adam monitor it." Boss Luo smiled and said, "You are always so efficient." Miss Maid said, "Although it is Master's order, you can't always be alone by Master's side because of this. Then, accompany me to fish." Boss Luo smiled, threw the bait and suddenly said, "Just now I was stumped by a difficult problem." Miss Maid blinked and whispered, "Then it must be a very difficult problem." Luoqiu nodded, "It is very difficult as a human." Oh, finally someone took the bait. It's just an ordinary black carp." Throwing the ordinary black carp biting the hook into the basket, Luoqiu smiled and said, "Let's eat fish for lunch?" Lan Kai was eating breakfast at home alone. He had long been accustomed to facing an empty big table alone. At this time, the servant ran to Lan Kai anxiously with a frightened look. Sir, hurry up. Go and see." Lan Kai rushed to the room upstairs and opened the door that he always wanted to open but always avoided. He saw Ruru lying on the edge of the window. Her hand fell along her body on the carpet. Blood kept flowing from her wrist, dyeing the white carpet red. I was going to come in and clean up the clothes, but when I saw—" Lan Kai was angry and roared, "What are you waiting for? Call an ambulance. Go!" With that, Lan Kai rushed to Ruru's side crazily, reached out and held her up. His face was pale. "Ruru, you must be safe?" Chapter 606. Fortunately, she was sent here in time. If it was any slower, I'm afraid it would be too late. Hearing the doctor's words, Lan Kai's tensed nerves relaxed a little, and finally sat down. He wiped his face with both hands and let out a long sigh. "It's good that she's fine, it's good that she's fine." The doctor said at this time, "President Lan, don't worry too much. We will take good care of her. Besides, you must be tired, right? I'll get someone to send you something to eat and drink?" Lan Kai was still in his pajamas. From morning until now, He had been guarding her almost without eating or drinking. He nodded. Okay, do as you say. I'll stay here and take a look at her. After the doctor left, Lon Kai sat next to Xiao Rou, reached out and tidied her hair, and did not speak. After a long time, he attached himself to Xiao Rou's ear and said gently, "No matter how long you want to hate me, it's no problem. I'm just begging you, don't hurt yourself like this anymore. I beg you, I really beg you, okay?" Lon Kai let out a long sigh again. In the end, his secretary hurriedly ran in. "President Lon." Lon Kai waved his hand and motioned for the secretary not to make a sound. Then, he stood up, walked out, and closed the door of the ward. The secretary quickly handed out the things in his hand. Clothes, shoes, and the like, as well as food and drink. "President Lon, how could this happen? Isn't everything fine? Why, stop talking." Lon Kai glanced at the secretary indifferently. "I won't go back to the company today. I'll stay here with her." Lon Kai shook his head. "Cancel my schedule today." The secretary nodded, then said awkwardly, "But President Lon, didn't you ask Miss Xan you out for dinner today? She will understand me." Lon Kai shook his head. "You don't have to say anything. Just say that I have something to do. That's it." The secretary nodded, then he seemed to be relieved and said subconsciously, "Fortunately, we have already sent Lon Xiu to the sanatorium before this. We won't see him again. President Lon, don't worry. I will tell the doctor not to talk nonsense." Lon Kai coldly glanced at the secretary. His appearance was like a wolf on the prairie, making the secretary feel cold all over. Lon Kai said coldly, "Don't mention this name again in the future. I was wrong. President Lon." Lon Kai said coldly, "Are you wrong?" The secretary's body trembled, and then she hurriedly said, "Yes. No, I understand. President Lon." Lon Kai then picked up the clothes. "I'll change my clothes. You stay here and watch. You're not allowed to leave." The night sky of Emerald Fantasy was much better than the night sky of the outside world. Of course, the city under the moonlight was much quieter. There was no light pollution or noise pollution, only the occasional barking of dogs. In the depths of an alley in a small town, a drunk man sat leaning against the wall. How many days had passed? Qian Xiu did not have a specific impression. He only knew that sometimes, when he woke up, the sun was high in the sky, and sometimes, when he woke up, it was already dawn. Maybe 2 or 3 days, maybe 4 or 5 days, maybe even longer. Who knows? Or perhaps time would just pass by in a blur. That would work too, right? Da-da, 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 the sound of footstep. Qian Xiu woke up from his drunkenness again, and opened his eyes. He saw a blurred figure walking towards him. When the other party was completely close, he heard the other party's voice. "I've finally found you, Big Boss. What are you doing hiding here alone? It's been almost 4 days. Xiao Bao?" Qian Xiu finally saw the other party's true appearance. "How did you find this place?" Xiao Bao, who was known as the Milk God, quickly typed, "Boss, do you think I'm stupid? The prop wine that you use every day to act cool is not obtained from killing monsters at all. It is clearly sold in this bar in this town. I browse the forum every day, so I will definitely find it, okay?" "Really?" Qian Xiu stood up shakily, smiled and said, "So you followed the clues, found this place, and then squatted on me?" Xiao Bao said, "Actually, I didn't wait for much. I just took time to come and take a look sometimes. Anyway, teleportation is fast. But it's a little expensive, hee. Why are you looking for me?" Qian Xiu shook his head and said, "I don't want to take you to do missions now. Your level is almost there. Just find a team. Don't count on me." Xiao Bao, "Boss, does it matter if I level up or not and do this mission? Isn't it just a game? Why do I have to be like a slave every day, rushing this and that? That's the game playing me, not me playing the game." Qian Xiu pinched his forehead and simply sat down against the wall. He said, "Nonsense. In the outside world, aren't you still being played by the rules, by work, and by life? Being played by fate? But why do you still want to live? Isn't it tiring? This game is different. Although you are still being played by the rules, you can at least become stronger. Whether it takes time or money, you can always be stronger. Your level will rise, and you can do what you can't do. You don't have to worry about anything. As long as it can be done here, you can do it. But outside, can you do it? Can you? You can't. You can't. You are nothing. Xiao Bao frowned and glanced at the wall clock on the office wall. It was past midnight. He typed, "I say, big brother, did something happen to you that made you unhappy? Or is there any difficulty?" Qianxiu laughed and said, "What's the matter with me? I'm fine. I don't have to worry about anything. I just sleep when I'm drunk and continue to be drunk when I wake up. It's good. It's really good." Xiao Bao, sure enough you drank. No wonder you speak strangely. Boss, aren't you world-weary? Do you live alone? It's not good for you to drink all day, right? Your family doesn't scold you? Qianxiu looked up at Xiao Bao. He didn't know what kind of scene Xiao Bao was seeing on the screen. He didn't want to think about these things. He just said coldly, "Does this have anything to do with you? Who are you to me? Do you really think that I'm a friend just because I accompany you to do missions for a few days and take you to level up? Are we brothers? Are you out of your mind? Get lost. Rookie. I'm just teasing you. Come on, call me boss a few more times. It's actually quite nice. It's like a dog, a pug." Xiao Bao, Qianxiu sneered and said, "Why? Are you unhappy? Come and fight me if you have the ability. Can you beat me?" Xiao Bao, to be honest, if this is not the town safe zone, I really intend to kill you in mode. But forget it. There's no need to compete with a drunk person. Qianxiu stood up with the wall and staggered. Is that so? I see. Well, let's go outside and PK. Don't be afraid. I'll give you my equipment. If you have the ability, come and kill me to vent your anger. Xiao Bao, Qianxiu, get lost if you don't want to fight. Don't get in the way. Seeing you is like seeing a dog. Get lost. Xiao Bao, Qianxiu, don't think that Grandpa Bao is easy to bully. I'm a civilized person. If you have the ability, go to the boxing gym with me and fight. I will let you know what God's forbidden hand is. Qianxiu, boxing gym? Forget it. I'm not in the mood. If you want to fight, fight here. If you don't want to fight, get lost. Xiao Bao immediately sneered. Oh? So that's the case? It turns out that you, the so-called boss, only know how to act cool in the game? You're scared when you go outside? Yes, that's right. A person like you who keeps coming online all day is probably a useless person with no ability. Maybe you're ugly. You only know how to hide in the room all day and never dare to face reality. You only find a weak sense of existence in the game. You're a pitiful person abandoned by society. Qianxiu widened his eyes and pulled out the long sword at his waist with one hand. What did you say? Xiao Bao, I said you're a useless person and a pitiful person. You're a coward who doesn't dare to go out of the room. You're a retard. What's the matter? If you have the ability, cut me now. Can you cut me? Ha! Qianxiu was furious. The sword in his hand slashed directly at Xiao Bao's priest. However, he could not violate the original rules of this game. The sword had bounced off before it really cut Xiao Bao. His body was directly spread out and fell to the ground. Xiao Bao, you can't cut me, right? Are you stupid? Why don't you go to hell? Ha 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 ha. Qianxiu lay on the ground. Listening to Xiao Bao's sarcastic words, he suddenly laughed. Ha 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 ha. Die. I've died before, but I can't die. What can I do? Not only can I not die, but I also became a useless person. I can't take care of myself. Xiao Bao, wait, boss, what happened to you? Don't tell me you want to commit suicide? Don't do stupid things. Qianxiu sat up drunkenly. Yes, I tried to commit suicide. Is there a problem? I went to jump off a building. I went to die. But why can't I die? Why do I have to be paralyzed in the lower body? Yes, you're right. I'm really a coward who can't walk out of the room. I can't walk. I'm a garbage who can't control myself all day long. A pitiful person. That's right. You're right. You're right. After speaking, Qian Xiu fell to the ground. The alcohol had completely made him fall into a deep sleep. Xiao Bao was stunned for a while before he quickly tapped on the keyboard. Wait. Boss, are you serious? However, Qian Xiu did not react at all. His character just stood there motionless. Chapter 607. Xiao Bao waited for Qian Xiu for a while. Seeing that he still had no reaction, he couldn't help but frown again. He wasn't sure whether this guy who played the Grand Knight Qian Xiu was drunk, or if he planned to do something dangerous after talking to Xiao Bao after getting drunk. Can you use common sense to think about the behavior of a drunk person? Obviously, he couldn't. But Xiao Bao wasn't sure if what this guy just said was true. The internet was full of lies and illusions. The trust built was like rootless duckweed. Xiao Bao suddenly had an idea. He quickly picked up the landline next to him and made a call. Hello, please help me connect to the Internet Surveillance Department. Okay, I'll wait. Hello. Daniel. It's me, Xiao Bao. There is an urgent matter. Can you help me? Can you help me check an IP address and see where the address is and who the user is? Alas, don't worry so much. It's not a bad thing. What bad things can I do? I'll send you the information right away. Thank you. Then I'll wait for your news. After hanging up the phone, Xiao Bao stared at the screen, looked at the time, and shook his legs. He didn't know why he felt more and more uncomfortable. Finally, the phone rang. Hello. Daniel, did you find it? I found it, but it's not in our city. Where is it? Next door, in a county under Jingyun City. The address is... The owner shows a person named Chen Likun. Xiao Bao copied the information given by Daniel and said, Chen Likun, right? Oh, male, 45 years old. What? 45 years old? Oh no, I didn't say anything. Okay, I'll treat you to dinner later. Xiao Bao hurriedly put on his shoes and jacket, ran to the parking lot and started the engine. He glanced at the information and frowned. 45. This isn't a big shot, but an uncle, right? He shook his head and drove his own car. He didn't know why he foolishly planned to run to the neighboring city in the middle of the night. It was indeed the middle of the night. It was still early in the morning. Secretary Lon Kai, who was dozing off in the ward, suddenly heard a clanging sound and woke up. He saw that the woman on the bed was looking at him, and there was an overturned cup on the ground. The secretary jumped up. Oh my God! You're finally awake. I'm going to call the doctor. Wait and see. Just you wait. It's good that you're awake. There's not much of a problem with your body. You just need to pay more attention to your health. After a brief examination, the doctor looked at the secretary and smiled. It was not easy to be a doctor. His secretary came to him every day, but he also had to work overtime every day. It's good that you're fine. Thank you, doctor. After the doctor left, the secretary hurriedly brought Ruru a glass of water. Drink some water. Drink some water first. Why are you here? Xiaoro looked at the secretary coldly. How could she not recognize the person beside Lon Kai? The secretary hurriedly said, Aren't I looking after you? This is President Lan's special order. How can I dare to leave? Look, the clouds have finally parted and the moon has seen the light of day, waiting for you to wake up. Xiaoro sneered, Is that so? I think it's the dark of the moon. Isn't Lon Kai eager for me to die like this so that he doesn't have to bother? The secretary hurriedly said, How can it be? Of course not. You don't know. President Lon runs here every day. He had already pushed away several important project discussions. That day, it was President Lon who carried you all the way to the hospital. He didn't even change his clothes. He was only wearing slippers, and they fell off on the road. President Lon was barefoot, and several layers of skin were worn off. President Lon didn't sleep for a few hours these days, and he lost a lot of weight. If it weren't for the leaders in the city going over to guide the work tomorrow, President Lon wouldn't go back if there was no other way. Xiao Rou turned her gaze away and didn't look at the secretary. What this person said was probably 70% true and 30% false, but he didn't dare to talk nonsense about Lon Kai. The secretary still handed the water over at this time. Xiao Rou took it silently and sipped it. The secretary sat down and said, "In my opinion, President Lon is the person who cares about you the most in the world. You too, why do you have to do this, right?" Xiao Rou glared at him and whispered, "You go out. I'd better keep it. President Lon asked me to stay close to him." Xiao Rou threw the water cup out and said angrily, "You listen to Lon Kai, but you don't listen to me, right? Are you going out or not? If you don't go out, I will go out by myself." As she said, she pulled out the needle in her hand and wanted to get up. Don't. The secretary was helpless. "If I let you go out here, President Lon will wring my head off." I'll go out, okay. But you promise, don't move. Don't mess around, okay? Get out. I'll get out. I'll get out right away. Outside the door, just outside the door, okay? I'll get out. Wait. Yes. Find me a computer, and get some food, I'm hungry. Right away. Immediately. I promise to complete the task. At about 6:00 in the morning, a loud knock on the door woke Chen Likun up abruptly. He put on his coat and opened the door irritably. "Who is it? It's so early in the morning, can't you let me sleep?" "Qian Xiu? What Qian Xiu? Who are you? Are you renting a house?" Chen Likun frowned and looked at the guy in front of him, a young man with particularly obvious dark circles. Xiao Bao. Renting a house? Landlord? Xiao Bao scratched his head and took a step back. He looked at the uncle up and down, especially at his legs, and wondered, "Are you really not Qian Xiu? Motherf asterisk Ker, are you kidding me early in the morning?" Chen Likun's eyes widened. No, I'm just looking for someone. Don't be angry." Xiao Bao hurriedly said, "It's like this. I have a friend who may be living here. Do you see anyone who has difficulty moving around?" "Difficulty moving around?" Chen Likun frowned. "Xiu? What Xiu? Are you talking about Lon Xiu?" "Oh yes, it's Lon Xiu. Xiao Bao nodded wittily. "Uncle, I'm looking for Qian Xiu, no Lon Xiu." "Who are you to him?" the landlord asked suspiciously. "Friend." Xiao Bao quickly said, "A good friend. Why haven't I seen you before?" The landlord still looked suspicious. Xiao Bao said, "I just came back because I was out of town. You see, my car is still parked outside. It's still warm outside. I drove more than 100 kilometers. If you don't believe me, I'll show you the record." The landlord waved his hand. No need. That guy is not here for a long time. You don't have to look for him." Not here?" Xiao Bao was stunned. "If he is not here, how did he talk to me a few hours ago?" The landlord shook his head and said, "That guy is actually quite pitiful. He is paralyzed. He can't even poop or pee. A few weeks ago, he suddenly fell into a coma while playing on the computer. If not for me, I might have died." "Then where is he now?" Xiao Bao asked. The landlord said, "He was sent to the hospital. Later, we found his brother. You don't know. His brother is a big entrepreneur in the city. He is young and promising. I really don't know what happened. One is in heaven and the other is on earth. They are actually brothers. Strange. Which hospital is he in? Has he been discharged?" "How would I know?" The landlord shook his head and said, "The doctor said that he has become a vegetable. Maybe he won't wake up for the rest of his life. If you want to see him, go to the First People's Hospital in the city." Okay, thank you, uncle. Xiao Bao scratched his hair and walked out. His mind was full of question marks. Rich brother? Vegetable? Infatuated girl? Blue sky? Internet addict? Who chatted with me? Internet ghost? What is this and what is this? Xiao Bao suddenly shivered. Then, he got in the car and looked at the time. It was time to make a decision. At this time, he could still go back to work, but if he went to the hospital, well, do you have any other orders? The secretary stood anxiously. Hey, slow down. Eat slowly. Be careful. Let me get you a glass of water. I just reported to my boss, General Manager Lan. He said that when the leader leaves, he will come to see you immediately. Get out. Don't let me see your face. Xiao Rou glanced at her coldly. The secretary had to turn sideways and cover her face. She left the room silently. But before she went out, she said, Well, call me if you need anything. Call me. A bowl of porridge was suddenly thrown over. The secretary was so scared that she quickly closed the door. She was biting a fried dough stick. Her palm, which was still connected to an 4-drip, was placed on the keyboard of the laptop and tapped casually. Dream City, Black Group 1989. Several games were logged in. Not long after, she closed them. Finally, after hesitating, Xiao Rou opened Jade Fantasy. She didn't even know if it was a habit or expectation. She opened these things that were meaningless to her now. System prompt: You have 86 unread emails. Even if there were 86 emails, she still carefully opened them one by one. She was never willing to let herself miss even one success because of irritation and disappointment. Even if these emails were from players who wanted to gain benefits from her. Milk God Xiao Bao. When the sender's name appeared, Xiao Rou hesitated for a moment. She recalled the incident a few days ago, but she had a feeling that she didn't want to open it. She didn't want to remember what happened that day. Forget it. You scared her. Just apologize. Xiao Rou muttered to herself. She said stupidly, If Blue Sky knew, he would definitely scold me for being willful again. Milk God Xiao Bao. Well, there are some things I think you should see. Because it was too awesome, I couldn't help but record it. The situation after you died that day. My big boss seemed to have gone crazy. Xiao Rou frowned and subconsciously clicked on the link on the email. In the gorgeous picture, the sword-wielding knight was crazily slashing a monster. Looking at the crazily increasing combo number on the screen, the youtiao that Xiao Rou was gnawing suddenly fell down. She moved her lips and opened them slightly. Then, her palms trembled a little and stroked her chest. Then, she covered her lips with both hands. Blue Sky. Xiao. I'm looking for you. I finally found you. I found you. I found you. She couldn't wait to return to the game again. She frantically bought the server speakers, but she suddenly retracted her hand. Xiao Rou nervously bit her nails. No, I can't find him directly like this. He will run away. He will run away like last time. I can't let him know that I found him. I can't. As she spoke, tears began to fall from her eyes. She suddenly hugged the notebook into her arms. I finally found you. This time, I will give you courage. Chapter 608. Xiao Bao did not choose to take a step further. Instead, he rushed back while there was still time. Although he was a person who was used to slacking off at work, it was only his personal habit. When he was needed, he had to be there. This was a matter of principle. After all, without the section chief, a lot of work was naturally put on him. He returned to work before 9 o'clock. He was busy until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Only then did Xiao Bao have time to return to his office position by holding the wall like a zombie. Ugh! Nausea. After drinking several cans of functional drinks in a row, the result was that his stomach twitched, constantly making him feel uncomfortable. When Xiao Bao turned on the screen again, he did not see Qian Xiu this time. He was in a hurry last night, so he did not have time to turn off the phone. The game was hung up. You didn't go offline? Xiao Bao looked at Qian Xiu's profile picture, but he thought that since he did not go offline but walked away, that was to say, his hard work all night was completely meaningless. Forget it. At least it's okay. It's a human life after all. Xiao Bao shook his head and yawned. At this time, he found that his messages were almost overloaded. The other party was 1,000 delicate feathers. Without exception, all the messages were just asking if he was there. Even when Xiao Bao opened the private chat window and was about to reply casually, the other party asked again. It seemed that they had been in continuous contact. Xiao Bao, well, why are you looking for me in such a hurry? 1,000 delicate feathers. You finally appeared. Where did everyone go? Xiao Bao, something happened. I hung up. So, what do you want? 1,000 delicate feathers. Are you with Qian Xiu now? Xiao Bao thought for a while. Did you see the video address I sent you? Have you seen it? 1,000 delicate feathers, and tell me, where is he? Xiao Bao, I don't know. This big shot refused to receive my message and even blocked his location. I have to wander around the world map to find him. Xiao Bao told 1,000 delicate feathers about how he found Qian Xiu and finally continued, it's probably difficult to find him now. I don't think he will come to this town again. 1,000 delicate feathers. Is his character still there? Xiao Bao, it's always on. Anyway, as long as I'm online, he's definitely there. Or rather, I've never seen him go offline in front of me. He's practically in the tribulation stage. 1,000 delicate feathers. Next time you find him, you must tell me immediately, I beg you. Xiao Bao, that's not very good, right? To be honest, I feel that this big shot is trying to avoid you. So what if you bump into him? After all, this is just a game. If he wants to go offline, what can you do? 1,000 delicate feathers. I just need to tell him one thing. Tell him that I only have one thing to say. If he insists, I won't look for him again. So, I beg you to help me. Xiao Bao, all right. I have a feeling that this big boss is not in a good state right now. System announcement. Player 1,000 delicate feathers has gifted you 1,000,000 diamonds. Xiao Bao blinked his eyes and calculated the ratio of diamonds to cash with his fingers. He almost rolled off his chair. Damn it. A total of 100,000 yuan was given away just like that. System announcement. Player Milk God Xiao Bao has rejected your gift. 1,000,000 diamonds has been returned to your account. 1,000 delicate feathers. Please don't reject it. Because this is the only way I can repay you. Xiao Bao, well, maybe you're really rich and this is just a small change, or maybe you're thanking me or something, but I really can't accept it. First, it's a matter of principle. Second, it's also a matter of principle in work. I don't accept these. 1,000 delicate feathers. You're a good person. Xiao Bao, it's so good to meet you in blue sky. Xiao Bao, sob, my heart is bleeding. Can you stop giving me the card? After Xiao Bao casually chatted with 1,000 delicate feathers for a while, he really could not take it anymore and planned to take a nap. As for Lan Xiu's matter in reality, he did not mention it, nor did he ask if 1,000 delicate feathers knew about it, let alone ask about her past. 1,000,000 diamonds. Why won't I accept it? It's not handsome at all. At night, around 9 o'clock, Lan Group's building. A woman about 27 or 28 years old walked out of the elevator and went all the way to Lan Kai's office. As the leader of the group, Lan Kai naturally did not only have one personal secretary. He usually had 2 other secretaries to serve him. At this moment, the reception secretary sitting at the table in front of the office saw the woman coming and quickly stood up to greet her. Miss Xinyue. This woman was dressed simply with an intellectual smile on her face. Miss Xinyue gently waved her hand and said, "Is President Lan here?" The reception secretary quickly said, "Yes. He just came back with the help of the driver." Today, the leaders came to inspect, and then President Lan accompanied several leaders to eat and go out. I think he drank too much. I saw that President Lon couldn't open his eyes when he came back. Okay, I'll go in and see him. Miss Shinua nodded. It's time. You should get off work too. The reception secretary hesitated and said, but President Lon is still inside. Miss Shinua smiled slightly and said, I'll tell him. Besides, you're just working for him, not a nanny. Girls need to give themselves some time. The reception secretary immediately said happily, Ah, Miss Shinua, I'm relieved to hear that. Thank you, Miss Shinua. You're welcome. Miss Shinua pushed open the office door and walked in. She looked around and saw Lon Kai lying on the sofa. He had taken off his suit and loosened his tie. His face was red, and the smell of alcohol was coming from him. Why did you drink so much? Miss Shinua quickly walked to the sofa and squatted down. She touched Lon Kai's forehead and said softly, Lon Kai, are you okay? Shinua, it's you. Lon Kai wasn't really drunk. He slowly opened his eyes. At the same time, he rubbed his forehead and tried to sit up. However, he really drank too much. At this moment, he seemed to be weak. Like a patient, he directly rolled from the sofa to the ground. Miss Shinua shook her head and supported Lon Kai. At the same time, she also sat down. She gently put Lon Kai's head on her lap and spread layers of wet tissue on his forehead. Do you feel better? I'm okay. Lon Kai hit his forehead. I'm sorry to let you see me like this. You must be disappointed, right? Something on your mind. Miss Shinua gently combed Lon Kai's hair. You've never let yourself get drunk like this. You said that in this Vanity Fair, people who can get drunk are easy to fail. I'm already a failure. Lon Kai suddenly gave a wry smile. Miss Shinua was startled. After a moment of silence, she said, Because of Ruru? Lon Kai sighed. A few days ago, she cut her wrist in her room. Blood flowed all over the floor. Fortunately, I came in time. Then she is now, Lon Kai said. She woke up in the early morning this morning. I couldn't leave today and couldn't see her. However, when I could leave, I was hesitating whether to see her or not. Shinua, do you know? Ruru and I are like messed up bones in our previous lives. In this life, we've always quarreled and never had a good time. I really don't know how to make her laugh. Don't you think I'm too much of a failure? Miss Shinua grabbed Lon Kai's palm and said softly, You've done well enough. If you do it again, it will become harsh. It's been so long. You still can't let it go. Let it go? How do you want me to let it go? Lon Kai opened his eyes and looked at the face that was close at hand. It was not beautiful, ordinary, but it was worth looking at. If you were me, could you let it go? Pretend that you don't know? I guess I can't accept it either. Miss Shinua also showed a wry smile. Lon Kai looked at the light above his head in a daze and muttered to himself, Sometimes I really don't understand why things have developed to this point. One actually went to commit suicide, the other hated me like an enemy. Did I do something wrong? I didn't do anything at all. It's the two of them who are wrong. They shouldn't. They shouldn't. Lan Xiao is really our nemesis. Sometimes I think that if my dad didn't bring him back that day, if he didn't. Miss Shinua said softly, You don't blame people in the past. Lon Kai shook his head and closed his eyes. He turned his body for a long time and buried his head in Miss Shinua's arms. This woman knew this man and cried here. But there was no sound. Tomorrow, I will accompany you to see Xiao Rou. Lon Kai took a deep breath. Aren't you afraid that she will trouble you? Miss Shinua shook her head. As long as you are not afraid, I am not afraid. With that said, Miss Shinua helped Lon Kai sit up. Let's not talk about it first. I will send you back. You can't stay like this until tomorrow. Lon Kai was drunk, but he took Miss Shinua's hand. He was overbearing but gentle. Don't go anywhere tonight. Just stay here with me. In front of the lakeside in the night, a staggering figure walked over. Qian Xiu's hazy eyes saw a familiar back at the small bridge by the lake. It was the little mage who was fishing. Holding the wooden stake on the edge of the wooden bridge, Qian Xiu approached step by step. In the end, he walked behind the little mage. His voice was a little vague. Why are you still at level 4 after so long? Are you sick? The little mage twisted his head and said casually, fishing doesn't seem to increase my experience points. Qian Xiu frowned. It was the alcohol that made him uncomfortable. He leaned against the wooden stake. His legs seemed to slip, and he sat on the ground with a plop. He simply lay down like this. You don't tell me you have been fishing since daytime? The little mage smiled and said, That's not it. I have been fishing during the day for the past few days. Let's see if we can catch it at night. Didn't you say that you won't come here again? Qian Xiu pinched his forehead and said, I found that I have nowhere to go again. Even if I come to this place, I still have nowhere to go. Just like the trapped monkey. He looked at the little mage. Do you have a place to go? Me? The little mage looked at the bait in the basket and smiled slightly. There are 3 left. I will go back after fishing. So, I won't bother you for too long. But, if you still don't want to, I have no problem leaving now. Qian Xiu shook his head and drank the wine by himself. After a while, watching the little mage put the bait on the 3rd fish and threw it out, Qian Xiu suddenly asked, LQ, do you have a relative? Yes. The little mage said softly, It's almost home now. Will you love your family? Don't you love your family? The little mage asked. Love? Qian Xiu lowered his head with a complicated expression, then suddenly looked up, pointed to himself and said, Do you know that I directly angered my biological father to death? He was old and had a bad heart, but right in front of me, he was angered to death by me. Qian Xiu stretched out his finger, pointed to his eyes and widened them, just like me, looking at me, and then falling down. He laughed and opened his hands as if he wanted to hug something. In the end, his voice seemed to be silent and lifeless. Then, I don't have a so-called father. So. The little mage nodded and retracted the line of the fishing rod. The last bait was still useless. Do you know? For the first time in my life, I regret it. For the first time, I feel that I am wrong. No, I know that I am wrong from the beginning. Qian Xiu hit the wooden stake with his head hard. Why can't I die? I think it should be that God feels that the punishment for me is not enough. He wants me to live like a useless person. So, there is the problem of the isolated island monkey. The little mage rolled the fishing line skillfully and glanced at Qian Xiu. Maybe. Qian Xiu looked at the night sky of this fantasy world. The little mage, who had put away the tools, stood up with the basket, walked past Qian Xiu, and suddenly said, Later, I thought about this problem again. If another monkey is thrown on the isolated island, will the trapped one come out? Qian Xiu said in a daze, Who is so bored to throw one, and another one comes. The little mage had gone far away and then disappeared. Qian Xiu's eyes were tired, and he fell asleep on this small bridge again. When Qian Xiu woke up, the night passed like this. He pinched his forehead and found himself on this small bridge again. Last night, he seemed to have met the fishing guy again. He didn't know what they said last night. Qian Xiu only felt a headache and had no impression. He suddenly felt nauseous and vomited directly here. It seemed that he really drank too much. After a while, Qian Xiu got up with difficulty. Why did I wake up again? Where can I go now? Player Milk God Xiao Bao used the server loudspeaker. Boss! Come and save me! I was maliciously piked. Help! They said to kill me every time they see me. Kill me back to level 0. Come quickly! Chapter 609. On the road at the entrance of a mine cave some distance away from Zhongguan City, a strong mount was galloping. Qian Xiu, who was on the seat, finally reined in the reins and stopped, revealing a cold gaze. Of course, such a gaze could not be seen by others at all. Of course, Xiao Bao couldn't see it. Where are the people who are chasing you? Qian Xiu looked at the surrounding environment, and at the same time, he took back the mount and landed on the ground. Xiao Bao. The people who are chasing me? No. I didn't see them. Did they? Qian Xiu was taken aback, frowned immediately, and said in a deep voice, Did you do it on purpose? Xiao Bao, I can't help it. If not, boss, would you take the initiative to find me? But I'm quite surprised that you really came to find me. I thought what I did was useless. 5 loudspeakers. 500 yuan. I'm dripping with blood, ready to throw money into the sea. Boss, I love you. Qian Xiu gritted his teeth, summoned the mount directly, and said angrily, Xiao Bao, you're good. From now on, don't expect me to talk to you again. Delete me as a friend. Xiao Bao, no. I have my difficulties. 1,000 Delicate Feathers knows that you are Lan Tian. Qian Xiu was stunned. He slowed down the action of getting on the mount, turned around, and subconsciously said, How did she know? Xiao Bao, boss, you finally admitted it. Qian Xiu pulled out his sword and stepped forward angrily. How dare you lie to me? Xiao Bao, if you want to kill me, just do it. Anyway, I won't really die. Lan Xiu, go ahead. Qian Xiu's hand trembled, and he said in horror, how did you know, Xiao Bao? I not only know that your name is Lan Xiu, but I also know where you live. To be honest, you said some strange things the night before yesterday, which made me very concerned. I asked some friends for help. I used your account's IP address to find your landlord's house, and rushed there overnight. Qian Xiu only remembered that when he woke up yesterday, Xiao Bao was standing in front of him stupidly in the alley. He just thought that Xiao Bao was habitually hanging in place, so he didn't think too much. Qian Xiu was silent for a while. Why did you want to find me? Xiao Bao, I'm worried that something might happen to you. How should I put it? Just think of me as a sensitive person. Although we haven't known each other for long, how should I put it? I don't know how to say it. In any case, he was just worried, and then he became dumbfounded. Qian Xiu turned his head away. You know about me? Xiao Bao, I know a little. It's all from the landlord. They said that you suddenly fell unconscious in your room and were sent to the hospital. Then, they found your rich brother? Qian Xiu was even more horrified. My brother found me? What did he say? Little treasure. Don't you know when you wake up? No matter what, the people in the hospital will tell you, right? By the way, is your body all right? Qian Xiu shook his head and said, I woke up. The hospital didn't tell me anything, so I left. Xiao Bao, forget it. Anyway, it's your family business. I won't interfere. Boss, the reason why I used this method to find you today is to help 1,000 Delicate Feathers pass a message to you. She said that she just wants to tell you one thing. If you don't like it after hearing it, she will never look for you again. Seeing that Qian Xiu was completely silent, Xiao Bao continued to type. Boss, you can't hide like this, right? Since she said that she wants to end it, then why don't you end it with her directly? Otherwise, if you run to other games, she will keep chasing after you. Is it interesting? Blue Sky and 1,000 Delicate Feathers, both of you are about to become legends in the gaming world, okay? End it. Qian Xiu took a deep breath. It's time to end it. Xiao Bao, boss, do you agree? Qian Xiu whispered. You ask her to come here to find me. Tell her that I'll meet her. Xiao Bao, right away. This lady has been texting me. The secretary opened the door of the ward sneakily and looked inside. At this time, the nurse who had just finished her work inside also came out. I'm just taking a look. The secretary suddenly smiled awkwardly. The nurse pursed her lips and smiled. Go in? I think the lady inside is in a good mood. How can the witch inside be in a good mood? The secretary just felt incredible, but he still walked in reluctantly. He saw Xiao, who was playing on the laptop on the bed, with a smile on her face. In all honesty, this secretary had been with Lan Kai for a long time. He was stunned and stood there in astonishment. What are you doing here? Xiao turned her head and frowned. The secretary said subconsciously, Didn't I see you smiling? Really? Xiao did not get angry this time, but looked at the screen again. Xiao Bao said that they could meet. She was controlling 1,000 delicate feathers to go to the destination. I'm fine. You can go out. Xiao waved her hand. The secretary blinked. Damn it, this is the most gentle I have ever seen her. The secretary scratched his head in confusion, but he still left the room and closed the door by the way. President Lan. As soon as he went out, he saw Lan Kai walking over quickly from the side of the corridor. He also had a woman beside him. The woman was holding a bouquet of lilies in her hand. Miss Xinyue, you're here too. Miss Xinyue smiled slightly. Lan Kai looked at his secretary, wanting to say something but hesitated. Finally, he said, "What's the situation inside?" The secretary said, "She's awake. And she seems to be in a good mood. She even smiled just now." Really? Lan Kai was stunned. He pushed the door of the ward without thinking. He looked anxious and didn't even look at Xinyue beside him. The secretary hesitated and asked, "Miss Xinyue, don't you want to go in?" Xinyue shook her head and said, "Give them some time alone. Come, find me a vase and let me put these flowers in." "Oh, okay. I'll go now." The secretary nodded and left quickly. Xinyue held the flowers inside again. She sat on the bench in the corridor outside the ward and looked at the door silently. "Xiao, you're awake." Lan Kai sighed softly. He tried to walk softly and walked to Xiao. He did feel what the secretary said just now. Xiao was in a good mood. Lan Kai couldn't remember how long it had been since he saw Xiao's face with such a comfortable glow. It was as if she wasn't a patient who had just woken up, but became energetic again. "Don't come over." But what awaited Lan Kai was the most familiar indifferent voice. Her energetic face suddenly returned to its cold stare. "Okay, I won't come over as long as you're happy." Lan Kai was patient. "Get out. I don't want to see you at this time. I don't want to see you at all." It was still the same cold and indifferent voice that was tinged with a hint of hatred. "Xiao, can't we reconcile?" Lan Kai's expression was complicated. "Impossible, absolutely impossible." Xiao looked at him with her extremely hateful eyes. She gritted her teeth and said, "Even if I die, it's impossible." "Xiao, you," Lan Kai came forward uncomfortably and said angrily, "These years, I've done everything I can. I'll compensate you for everything I can. No matter how willful you are, no matter what you want to do, I'll do it for you. Isn't that enough? Get out of here. Get out right now. I don't want to see you now. Get out. Lan Kai, get out of here." "Xiao, you've gone too far." Lan Kai only felt an uncontrollable anger. He waved his hand and swept Xiao's notebook from the moving table on the bed to the ground. "What you've done, don't you know it yourself?" At this time, Xiao got out of bed in a panic. She hurriedly pushed Lan Kai away and picked up the laptop. She looked at it in a panic. Her eyes suddenly turned red and tears fell down. She patted the laptop that had a black screen and couldn't be turned on. Lan Kai looked at it, clenched his fist, and suppressed his anger. "You pushed me because of such a broken computer?" Xiao threw the notebook in her hand at Lan Kai and rushed out of the ward without thinking. Unexpectedly, after dodging, Lan Kai directly blocked her. He reached out and grabbed Xiao's arm and said angrily, "You've gone too far. Let me go. Let me go." Lan Kai waved his hand and slapped Xiao's face. The force used directly hit the soft woman to the ground. Lan Kai looked at his palm in horror. He wanted to reach out and help Xiao up from the ground, but Xiao slapped his hand away. He heard Xiao said coldly, "Are you done? If you are, can I go out?" "President Lan. I didn't mean it, I really didn't mean it, so what if you didn't mean it?" Xiao lowered her head and got up. "Anyway, it's not the first time you said you didn't mean it. Does it matter? You still remember." Lan Kai's face couldn't help but turn pale. Xiao looked at Lan Kai blankly, like a body without a soul. "Lan Kai, I can't forget. I can't forget that you killed our child with your own hands. It's still in my stomach. How can you do it? Tell me, how can I forget? You still have the face to say our? Lon Kai's eyes were bloodshot, like a lion that had been eating people. Let me go or let me die. Xiao said indifferently. Xiao, what's wrong with you? Xinyue saw Xiao walk out of the ward. She had heard the sound inside. At this time, she quickly stood up, walked over and took Xiao's hand. However, she saw Xiao glanced at her expressionlessly. Xinyue subconsciously felt like falling into an ice cellar. She had never seen such desperate eyes. Her hand had been pushed away by Xiao silently. She could only watch Xiao walk barefoot and stagger away with the support of the wall. Lon Kai, you just... Xinyue quickly walked into the ward, but saw Lon Kai sitting on the sofa dejectedly, covering his face. I couldn't hold back and finally slapped her, a hard slap. Lon Kai said painfully. She mentioned the child. Anyway, you have to call Xiao back. She just woke up and is weak. Can she walk out barefoot like this? Xinyue pulled Lon Kai up. You can't leave her alone. Only you can't leave her alone. Lon Kai was startled. He nodded silently and rushed out quickly. Hey, miss, what are you doing? Don't do this. At the nurse's station in the corridor of the inpatient department, the nurse hurriedly pulled the woman who suddenly walked over and pushed her away without shoes. What kind of broken computer is this? Xiao fiercely smashed the screen, and then walked to another place with the support of the wall. The nurse naturally had to pull her, but she was stabbed in the arm by the pen Xiao picked up from the table. Come on, a patient is out of control. Come on. The nurse covered her arm and looked at the woman with messy hair holding a pen in horror. Xiao looked at the nurse coldly, which made the nurse's heart beat violently, and she leaned against the wall in horror. But Xiao turned around again. Computer, where is it? I found Lan Tian. I found him. Why don't you give me a computer? Along the wall, she walked past the ward. He is waiting for me. President Lan. Found him, here. Xiao. Come back. I was wrong. Come back. Don't come over. Don't come over. Go away. I want to find Lan Tian. I found him. I have found him. She stepped on the stairs in front of her. The sky and earth were spinning as if gravity had disappeared. She only felt that the sky and earth were spinning, and the back of her head hit something heavily. Her consciousness began to blur, and her vision began to darken quickly. He is waiting for me, Xiao? Doctor? Call the doctor. Chapter 6:10. Like a giant pillar, the white light in the sky slowly poured into this magical huge mountain. Originally, it was a majestic snow-capped peak, but because of the preferences of a certain sage-like old man, it had become a wonderland of treasures. The surroundings were filled with dense fog, and it was indeed like a wonderland on earth. Very cool. It was really cool. He felt like he had returned to the time 500 years ago when he went down the mountain and commanded the wind and moon. This was Taiyinzi's current feeling, and this feeling had continued from the beginning until now. Moving mountains and seas was just child's play, and he could do anything he wanted. As the host of Jade Fantasy, as long as he had the support of the algorithm, this rookie in the club could casually change the rules of the entire world. When the white light pillar completely fell, a man holding a huge battle sword frowned and cautiously walked out. I am Tai-yin, the master of this place. Now I give you a cheat. I give you a treasure. The chosen one, you will become the only protagonist in this world and defeat all the chosen ones. Go. After saying this, Taiyinzi waved his hand at the astonished man and sent him directly out of this wonderland on earth. After doing this, Taiyinzi clapped his hands. In this otherworldly wonderland, a huge stage suddenly appeared from the ground. Music! However, not long after the Lord God of Taiyin started to break dance, he abruptly stopped. Not only in theory, but in reality, according to the division of abilities in this game world, There were at least 2 other big shots above this Lord God of Tying. Master, master! You ye miss! Taiyinzi's style instantly returned from the sage-like to the terrified look. I didn't know that master would come. I deserve to die. Boss Luo sized up this wonderland on earth, and seemed to be quite interested. Taiyinzi, you are getting more and more skilled in your business? Miss Maid said with a faint smile. You just waved your hand and sent someone away. It was quite impressive. Taiyinzi laughed dryly. This is all thanks to Yu Ye's algorithm and the relationship between me and this world. No matter how awe-inspiring I am, it's all thanks to you and Miss Yu Yi. Miss Maid chuckled. Your ability to sweet-talk has improved. Taiyinzi lowered his head and wiped his cold sweat. You two go fishing, why are you here? Luoqiu retracted his gaze and looked at Taiyinzi curiously. Taiyinzi, you seem to have given our customers a lot of good things? Taiyinzi quickly said, Master, you see, there are also gifts when you buy things. Little Taoist, I'm doing this so that the guests can enjoy Jade Fantasy better. Look, I've given these guests a cheat. Of course, it's just giving them some treasures. But these treasures are not beyond the game rules. Is there any deep meaning? Luoqiu asked with a smile. Taiyinzi swallowed his saliva and said, Master, you see, in a world with such a theme, battle is the main theme. Those souls can only become strong after experiencing the baptism of iron and blood, and the tempering of time. As the saying goes, a general's success is built on thousands of bones. Well, oh no, I can't make it up anymore. What should I do? I am also desperate. I can't say that I can't control myself and get addicted to acting cool because it is cool to show off as a god king, right? What's this? Miss Maid's mouth curled up again. I'm creating a hero for you, master. A hero? Boss Luo nodded. Go on. Taiyinzi suddenly shivered, and his inspiration collapsed. You see, some of them think they are already chosen by God. Slowly, they find their own mission. Then, in the next big map, they find the goal to fight for, participate in the structure of the world, experience a long period of war, sorrow and pain, and gradually grow, and even strengthen their determination to fight against the world. They save thousands of people from the abyss of suffering and finally become the savior. This kind of hero, this kind of hero's soul. Yes, the hero's soul. Master, you see, is this not a good thing? The boss suddenly glanced at the obedient maid beside him, and Yu Yi moved her lips slightly. Master? Taiyinzi was uneasy. Who knew if he would be able to pass the test? That's a good idea. Boss Luo said lightly and left the wonderland. Taiyinzi looked at Miss Maid for a while. Yu Yi, Master's words, can you explain it to me? Hero's soul. Yu Yi seemed to recall something and chuckled. I haven't seen it in a long time. Taiyinzi, you really want to cultivate the hero's soul? Of course. Taiyinzi held his head high and chest out. You are very motivated. Yu Yi chuckled, then continued to work hard. I won't disturb your work, I have to go back and clean up. Take care. Taiyinzi respectfully sent her off and suddenly said, AI. Yu Yi, please wait, I have something to say, but I don't know if I should say it. Tell me. Taiyinzi stroked his long beard and said, You see, Master has been fishing every day, but he hasn't caught anything. After a long time, he will inevitably feel uncomfortable. How about this, I will adjust a little and let the carp come up by itself. If you really adjust it, Master will feel uncomfortable. Yu Yi shook her head. Just do your job well. Don't do unnecessary things. Take care of yourself this time. The follow-up development of the hero's soul of the King God project is already remarkable. Looking at Miss Maid who left, Taiyinzi patted his chest and sighed. Maybe I won't be tricked this time, right? He suddenly shuddered, then continued to clap his hands and shouted, Music! At the entrance of a mine outside Zhongguan City, Xiao Bao glanced at Qian Xiu, who was standing under the tree in front of the mine for a while. Xiao Bao, boss, did you delete me from your friend list? Qian Xiu looked at Xiao Bao, shook his head, and then said, do you really want me to delete you? Xiao Bao, no, I just feel uncomfortable with you. So, I'm giving you a way out. Qian Xiu sneered and suddenly asked, why do you want to help me? Do you think I'm pitiful? Xiao Bao, not entirely. I just can't stand it. You really think I'm meddling in other people's business? No, it should be because of interest. After all, I'm a public servant driven by interest. Qian Xiu was stunned and said with a smile, oh? Could it be that you are a police officer? Xiao Bao, secret. Let's not talk about this topic, okay? I have to leave you with a sense of mystery. Sense of mystery. Qian Xiu simply sat down and leaned against the tree trunk with his hands as a pillow. Xiao Bao would not see this anyway. To be honest, I really feel that you are quite mysterious. Xiao Bao, you are the one, right, boss? I'm just a pervert. Qian Xiu said calmly, what's so mysterious about me? I'm also a layman, and a layman who can't control himself. Xiao Bao, boss, are you nervous? Chapter 6:11. Xiao Bao was taken aback. In his memory, this seemed to be the first time this boss used such a tone to chat, right? Xiao Bao came forward, don't change the topic. Are you nervous? You are really nervous, right? Right? Qian Xiu snorted coldly, what a chicken! Xiao Bao, boss, I accept such a compliment unreservedly, Qian Xiu suddenly said. I am nervous. I don't even know how to face it. In other words, I still have the urge to escape. Xiao Bao, don't. Boss, please don't. That lady said that if I dare to lie to her, she will greet me with a loudspeaker every day. In that case, I really can't stay in a daze. I can only change my position and play something else. Of course, I can open a side account, but I can still hear it. It's still unpleasant. Qian Xiu smiled, a little gently. Yes, she can really do this, only she can do it. Xiao Bao, I smell the sour smell of love. Qian Xiu shook his head. You don't understand. Xiao Bao, there is nothing that love can't solve. If it's not enough, then love again. Qian Xiu rolled his eyes and said, you have never loved anyone. Xiao Bao, boss, don't fool around with friends. Qian Xiu stood up. Let's not talk about it. Xiao Bao, you go back. I want to wait for her here. It should be almost time. Don't worry, I won't escape this time. This is the last time. I can't escape. Xiao Bao, okay, let me know when you are done. I should go to work. Do you have time to continue the mission at night? You have been dispirited for many days. Your level has fallen a lot. The ranking list has fallen beyond 300, right? Qian Xiu said calmly, level doesn't mean everything. Xiao Bao, okay, you are the king of skills. You are awesome. You are tough. Damn, who attacked me? Qian Xiu was taken aback. He saw that Xiao Bao's chest exploded directly, but he still stood as if nothing had happened. The real Xiao Bao certainly would not feel pain. After all, this was just his game character. But at this moment, Qian Xiu only saw a dazzling white light. His vision suddenly disappeared, accompanied by a hot wave and a push. Boss, are you okay? I seem to be back to the resurrection point after being attacked. Damn it. You wait, I will come back right away. Fuck. This time, Xiao Bao's voice sounded directly in Qian Xiu's mind, which meant that Xiao Bao was extremely far away from him. Qian Xiu instinctively picked up his long sword and released an armor skill at the same time. He only felt a heavy blow hit his body, completely knocking him to the ground. Who is it? Qian Xiu hurriedly stood up, and at the same time, he quickly drank the potion to recover his lost HP. You really belong to this place as well. When the white light dissipated, a mage wearing a red mage robe appeared in front of Qian Xiu. The other party's level was 4 levels higher than him. Qian Xiu was currently 37, and the other party was 41. He directly skipped a stage. The man in red robe mage said with a gloomy smile. I just heard the same loudspeaker shout several times, so I came over out of curiosity to see who is so brave to maliciously PK. I didn't expect to catch a big fish. Qian Xiu, I have been quietly observing you since I came here. Those little movements of your limbs can't be done casually, right? Facing the words of the red robe mage, Qian Xiu remained motionless. He glanced at the surrounding environment, narrowed his eyes slightly, raised his sword calmly, and said calmly, Since you are also one, then our fight will not end well. In our case, there is a limit to the number of deaths. Aren't you afraid of death? Huh? Are you talking about you? The red robe mage said disdainfully. I have stepped into level 40, but you haven't. Do you know the gap of a large level? Qian Xiu sneered. Even if you can kill me, so what? I still have a lot of times. But if you kill me this time and let me go back to the resurrection point, you will get a person who keeps attacking you in the dark. The red robe mage laughed and said, It doesn't matter. I will kill you here as many times as you have. Until I kill you completely. Qian Xiu frowned and said, I have no grudges with you. Why are you doing this? The red robe mage sneered and said, Are you pretending to be stupid or you really don't know? Didn't God King Tai Yin tell you when you reincarnated here? Only the real chosen ones can become the real protagonists in this jade fantasy world. Since the heavens chosen one appears one after another, it also means that only one person like us can remain. I am the only one. Die. A huge magic array unfolded under Qian Xiu's feet. At the same time, a large number of fireballs fell from the sky. Trap mage. Qian Xiu was shocked and looked at the terrifying and dense magic array on the ground. You! Don't be surprised. The red robe mage laughed and said, Since I want to hunt you, of course, I am prepared early. I have set up a trap here. You can't escape. A low-level great knight like you can't defend against the power of the trap mage's attack. When the magic array on the ground and a large number of fireballs in the sky converged at the same time, Qian Xiu had no way to let the attack empty his HP. This was not a matter of skill, but he was really in a desperate situation. Just as the red-robed mage had said, it was impossible to overturn the situation with such a huge difference in level, especially under the circumstances of a sneak attack. What could be said? It could only be as the red-robe mage said. He had been decadent for too long, and he had no intention to improve his mind. Naturally, he fell behind too much. 2/3 of death. There was only one last chance to die safely. He felt that his body had been reorganized. The feeling of flesh and bones beginning to grow was very uncomfortable, as if thousands of years had passed. When the feeling of the body recovered again, and the pain passed, Qian Xiu had his sight again. But he instantly felt like he had fallen into a dark ice cellar. He was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. Still here, still in the same place. He did not return to the resurrection point. Is it strange? The red-robe mage said proudly, This is the treasure that Tai Yin King gave me. Imprisonment space. Here, you can't even use the return scroll. It's simply a divine weapon for killing people in the wild. What? A large number of magic arrays floated on the ground again. The red-robe mage grinned and said, 2 days ago, a video of a player slashing nearly 4,000 combo appeared on the forum of the outside world. It spread like wildfire. I, who was inside, also heard a thing or two. That person is you. I didn't expect to find you when I came over out of curiosity. God is really helping me. I caught a big fish. Qian Xiu, you must have the treasure of Tai Yin King on you. Otherwise, you can't reach this limit. If I kill you completely, the treasure will be mine. I don't have that kind of thing. I don't want to fight with you. Qian Xiu frowned and cautiously guarded. I have something important to do. Let's stop here. It's not up to you. Red Lotus Hell, activate. Qian Xiu retreated frantically. His body was in the dense attack, and he narrowly avoided the terrifying and fierce attack. Even a touch was enough to reduce a lot of his HP. Moreover, the pain caused by this kind of attack was not as easy to endure as imagined. What a fast speed and reaction! Although the Red Robe Mage had the upper hand and kept launching the ambush dangerous attacks, the Red Robe Mage couldn't help but be secretly shocked in the face of such a great knight who was one level lower than him. This guy's reaction speed is simply terrifying. If this guy were to successfully rise above 40. What entangled in Qian Xiu's eyes seemed to be a big one. This number represented his last safe death. But within the confinement of the Red Robe Mage, he couldn't leave. Only by defeating the opponent, he could rumble. But in the face of the dangerous attack, he couldn't even get close to the opponent. If this goes on, Qian Xiu was under unprecedented pressure as he looked at the HP potion that was consumed frantically. The skills he was proud of were as weak as a piece of white paper under such a violent attack. Give up resistance. What are you still holding on for? Don't struggle. Struggling will only make you suffer more. The Red Robe Mage's eyes were cold. You are so desperate. This is your last safe death, right? No wonder you are so crazy. However, your death is destined. Your things will belong to me. I am the final winner of this jade fantasy. Don't come over. The Red Robe Mage retreated in a panic at this time, with a look of horror on his face. Qian Xiu in front of him did not dodge. He walked directly to the front of the Red Robe Mage against the terrifying attack. He almost lost more than 70% of his HP. Obviously, it was a desperate attack. The long sword in Qian Xiu's hand burst into a dazzling light. An azure blue brilliance turned into a half-moon arc, and slashed the Red Robe Mage's body with the blade. Chi-chi, chi-chi. The sound was continuous. Chapter 6:12. Chi-chi. Chi-chi. This was the sound of the stalemate between the blade and the almost transparent cover in front of the Red Robe Mage. But Qian Xiu still had to bear the damage caused by the trap. He could only bite his teeth and hold on. However, this red-robed mage seemed to be very relaxed. Where was the panic from before? Is it strange? Do you think I can't guess that you will use this kind of injury for injury? Red Robe Mage sneered. I'm just teasing you, idiot. How does this blazing sky treasure shield feel? It doubles my defense, plus 600 points of the shield's HP. Before level 45, don't even think about my defense. Don't even think about taking down this 600 points of HP, trash knight. Qian Xiu was hit hard by the subsequent attack. By the way, I'm not afraid to tell you. Red Robe Mage looked at Qian Xiu, who was in pain on the ground, and said arrogantly, "This shield is also taken from another person, of course, it is people like us." Qian Xiu waved his hand subconsciously, but his palm was empty. All the HP potions had been used up. Without the HP potions, the little remaining HP and the pain all over his body made it difficult for Qian Xiu to continue. The feeling of paralysis attacked his whole body again. He stood up with his long sword, trembling, and stared at the Red Robe Mage. TSK, you can even use up the potions. You are really tenacious to hold on until now." Red Robe Mage shook his head. Why? Give up resistance. You don't know how much pain you have suffered. Don't worry, I can kill you now. With that said, the Red Robe Mage waved his hand, and a few overlapping rotating halos began to appear on his hands. He needed to end the battle quickly and kill the opponent while he was still weak. Red Robe Mage did not expect that under a large number of ambushes, this low-level Great Knight could hold on until all the dangers were exhausted. Qian Xiu supported his body with his sword, like a stumbling old man. He walked step by step toward Red Robe Mage. "I can't die here, at least today, at least now." A few overlapping halos were still rotating. The red-robed mage couldn't help but frown. Although his trap was powerful, it required a very long time to prepare. At this time, looking at Qian Xiu's sharp eyes, a huge sense of oppression made him take a small step back. But thinking that he still had a powerful treasure shield on him, he was more confident. What was there to be afraid of? He couldn't cut through it even if he wanted to. High risk, high return. He had tasted the sweetness several times already. Seeing that the other party's treasure was about to fall into his hands, how could he retreat at this crucial moment? The red-robed wizard calmed himself down. He was about to unleash his skill. Die! Qian Xiu was still close, but looking at the long distance that seemed to be untenable, less than 6 meters away, his whole body was protesting. At the very least, I can't fall here today. At least I want to, but looking at the several halos that had been shot out, Qian Xiu still couldn't reach the effective release distance of his skills. At least rumble rumble rumble. Smoke and dust billowed around, and Qian Xiu had been completely submerged by the dense trap magic attack. Is he dead? Or no? The red-robed wizard still didn't dare to relax. He quickly drank a bottle of magic potion, and at the same time, he was channeling the skill. Because he didn't get any prompt of a successful kill. How dare you beat him like this? How dare you beat him like this? Suddenly, a shrill scream came out of the thick smoke and dust. The voice with endless hatred made the red-robed wizard's scalp tingle. He had never heard such a shrill voice. A woman's voice. At the same time, a golden light suddenly shot out of the billowing smoke and dust. It was as fast as a meteor, shooting directly at the red-robed wizard's chest. Chi-chi, chi-chi. It was a snow-white arrow that burst out with bright golden light. This arrow easily tore through all the defenses of the red-robed wizard's treasure shield. It pierced through his body in an instant and directly harvested nearly half of his HP. Ah 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 ah. The pain of the sharp arrow piercing his heart made his face completely distorted. My treasure shield. Impossible. I drew a bow for 1,100,000 arrows. What kind of shield can't be broken? The dust dispersed, and a snow-white unicorn stood proudly in front of him. The unicorn's open wings brought out a golden light shield, which covered Qian Xiu at this time. As for the female elf archer next to him, her eyes were bloodshot, and she looked at him with endless hatred. 1,000 delicate feathers! The red-robed wizard was shocked, and he was suddenly frightened. Who in this area didn't know this super tycoon who poured water in the lottery pool and used the loudspeaker like a machine gun? As the person chosen by the God King of Taiyin, he had the treasure given by the God King. He had great potential for development, but he hadn't been fully developed yet. How could he fight against this huge capitalist force? He recognized the bow in 1,000 delicate feathers' hand. Most likely, the Jade Fantasy players recognized it. Don't do this. I'll go right away. Don't. The red-robed wizard retreated frantically. Confinement space not only confined the other party, but also himself. Killing you 1,000 times is not enough. The arrow that took 100,000 was shot again. This time, there was no shield, and the red-robed wizard's HP was directly emptied. He died in a scream, and then he was reborn in the same place again in horror. He faced 1,000 delicate feathers' second bow. A trap wizard with an extremely long casting time couldn't make any response at all. Please. I used it for the last time. No. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Ah dash. When the powerful snow-white arrow pierced the red-robed wizard's body again, and when the scream sounded, 1,000 delicate feathers once again knocked the third snow-white arrow. But this time, the red-robed wizard was not reborn, but his body fell to the ground and gradually dissolved. After a gray light ball emerged, it quickly disappeared. It no longer appeared. 1,000 delicate feathers didn't look at it at this time. She directly dropped the things in her hand. She flipped her palm a few times, and a lot of medicine bottles with various lights poured out like a flood. Blue sky. Blue sky. I don't know which one you want to eat. I don't know which one is the best. Blue sky. You must not die, blue sky. I won't die. Qian Xiu stood shakily and said weakly, "Are you a pig? HP will recover by itself. It's just a little slower." "Where does it hurt?" Thousand Delicate Feathers didn't care about the scolding and quickly held him. "Where does it hurt? Do you know that it was very dangerous just now? What if that guy ambushed other traps?" Qian Xiu looked at her and said calmly, "Didn't I defeat him? I have the ability to." "What kind of victory is this? You used money to crush him to death." Qian Xiu said angrily, "You prodigal woman. You've lost 3 arrows that cost 100,000 each just like that." Her eyes were red and she was sad and happy. "You called me a woman again." Thousand Delicate Feathers tiptoed directly and blocked all of Qian Xiu's words with her lip. Qian Xiu trembled as if he was struck by lightning. She shouldn't be able to do this. Absolutely not. And the previous action of supporting him was also for a long time. "Xiaorou Yu, why are you?" Qian Xiu looked at the woman in horror. Thousand Delicate Feathers hugged him and leaned on his chest. "I am the same as you now. I don't know what happened. I just know that I saw a very dazzling light. I couldn't think of anything. I only thought of you. I thought I was going to die, but I finally heard a voice. He asked me if there was anything I needed." Thousand Delicate Feathers hugged Qian Xiu's arm silently. "I said I don't want anything. I just want to be by your side. Then I came here." "Are you stupid? Do you know what this place is? Do you know the consequences?" Qian Xiu glared at her. "You shouldn't have come. You saw it too. The wizard just now. How dangerous. You can come. Why can't I come?" "I'm different," Thousand Delicate Feathers cried, "but we're the same now, we're the same, we're the same, we're the same. Here, we are the same. You don't want me this time. Second brother." Qian Xiu closed his eyes in pain. "I will wait for you on the tower in Zhongguan City." She raised her head resolutely. "If you don't come before the end of today, I will know the answer." "Xiaorou Yu."